part to say is you won't sleep tonight after you hear Steve Bohne talk. One thing, Steve's program is going to be about discovering your studio's hidden wealth, and you'll discover that Steve is a promoter, an advertiser, a humorist. He's got a lot of guerrilla tactics that work for everybody. I'm really glad that Steve is a friend of mine and not a competitor in our city here, because the guy is a super guy, but he knows a lot about business, and I don't want to take up any more time. I want you to welcome Mr. Steve Bohne from Jackson.
I run up here and think that's just like you told you to do it, Mark.
Yeah, you did really well.
I'm real glad to be here. Beautiful day. Omaha is a great city. You're fortunate to live here. You know I'm dedicated because today is the second game of the playoffs between Detroit and Boston, and I'm not there, okay? Now that's dedicated. If I want to come to Omaha and miss the playoff game. But we're going to beat them anyway, so it's probably not much of a game to miss. One of my employees is taking my son, so I got all the bases covered. I'll give you a little bit of background on me before we start with slides. I've been in photography. Well, I photographed my first wedding 2 weeks before my 19th birthday. 10 years later, almost, the date I was the National Wedding Photographer of the Year. I started out in my home, like probably most of you do, or are doing, or have done. And we did some portraits, mostly weddings, some commercial work. And bit by bit, we built it into a full-time business. And we've been at it full-time for probably a good 15 years. About 6 or 7 years ago, I reached a real tough point. The economy got bad in Michigan. As you know, the automotive business was really a downturn as the Japanese proved that they could build cars that people would buy, and they could promote them so people would buy them. Whether they were better or not, we won't go into that, okay? Just people would buy them. And that's all it takes. If people buy it, well, that's the goal of any business, is to get it sold. So in the space of about 18 months, we had about 6 major factories leave our town. Goodyear, Clark Equipment, places that gave really quite a bit of employment in our city. And people were moving out. These factories, some didn't close, they moved to other towns, and some of the workforce went along with them. So my income went from $500 a week to less than $500 a month. I just split a business with a partner. I woke up one morning, I had a brand new studio in a department store. I was leasing the space. It was known for a low quality, high volume type place. I got it just as a second business as I was in partnership with somebody else. When we closed that place, that became my studio. And it just wasn't going very well. The reputation of the studio wasn't good. When I purchased it, it had been closed for a while, but I thought I could build a business out of it. Had a meeting with my accountant and my CPA, and they said, you know, the only way to save this situation is to file bankruptcy. He says, you decide that you're going to pay the corporation debts off from your old partnership, which they advised me against. I said, no, I got to live here and look those suppliers in the eye. I had assets of roughly $67,000, and I had liabilities of over $110,000. All right, certainly a bankruptcy case if there ever was one, but we refused, and we set off to pay those people back, which we did. It was tough for a while. It ruined my personal credit. I'm just now, I'd say, oh well, over the last 2 years, I really started to get my own personal credit back. But it was just something that I didn't want to have the stigma of bankruptcy attached to me. We set out by taking this little department store studio and saying, okay, we're going to try to change it into a low volume or medium volume, high price studio, or at least higher price. And I became convinced that I could do that after I talked to Al Gilbert. Now, I'm sure most of you know Al. He's in Toronto, and for years had a studio located in the Sears store in Toronto. Only in Sears they call him Simpsons. And he did very well. He convinced me that even though I was nowhere near the photographer that Al was, I could make that situation work. And we turn it around. But I didn't do it really through my photography, although I felt it was better than the other photographers in my city. We did it by buckling right down and doing some work and learning a lot of business techniques. Now, I want to convince you here today, if I can't convince you of anything else, that you do own a gold mine. You do own a gold mine. It's your studio, and it's there for you to mine. But as with a gold mine, you just don't walk up and say, here's the gold. You know, it doesn't go and spit it out and you take it home. All right? It doesn't work like that. You have to do some work on it. I don't know how many people have read the book or listened to the tape by Napoleon Hill, but he speaks about, it was called Think and Grow Rich, and he thinks about a man who made $1 million selling insurance. But before he sold insurance, he and the cousin went out west, they bought some land looking for gold, and they actually found a gold mine. They went back east and they got money from investors, bought the equipment necessary. In the first few carloads that came out, they had paid off the investors, almost paid them off, and the next carload would be their profit. That next carload never came. They ran out of gold. And dejected, they went home. They sold the equipment to a junk dealer for a few $100s. They paid the investors off and now had to look for something else. The junk dealer hired a surveyist. The surveyist said, well, whoever had this mine didn't understand gold mines, that the vein doesn't run in a straight line. Sometimes they shift, or they have faults, and those are called fault mines. He says, if you'll dig 3 feet to the left, the vein will continue. The junk dealer became a millionaire. So, you have to know where to dig. And the point of this is, the junk dealer didn't know anything about gold mining, but he knew how to find the people that did. Don't be afraid to hire the specialists that can help you go 3 feet to the left, 3 feet to the right, really whatever it takes to maybe make your business take off and go. I want to set 1 or 2 things straight here. Sometimes I present this seminar and people say, well, there's more to life than money. There certainly is more to life than money. However, it's very difficult for you to go to the bank and take them a couple of print minutes and ask them if they'll take that on your mortgage payment. If you find a bank that'll do that, call me. Well, yeah, I got a half a dozen, and I'd be glad to kind of throw it away, you know, in place of the mortgage payment. But not very often does it work like that. Money is not everything, it's not the only thing, but it certainly is important. That's why my business exists. I'm in business to make a profit. I operate my studio like it is a business, and we certainly are aimed to make a profit. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn down the lights, and we'll start some slides here. And I'd like to open with something I call the 2% eye-opener. And what this does is it allows me to show you that it's not necessary to raise your prices 50%, 100%, in order to make more profit, more money from your business. Coming from Michigan, everybody always says, well, hey, since you're from Michigan, you're going to tell us to triple our prices, right? Like this Lewis guy. No, that's not my seminar. We don't do that. I don't know that you can be successful by tripling your prices. I guess if you can find somebody that'll pay them, you certainly could. But this is the magic profit formula starring the 2% eye-opener. Now, you want to remember that in your studio you need a planned sales program. And to do that, you have to have an idea of where this studio is going. You can't be a wandering generality, folks. You have to be a focused something. You've got to plan where you're going to go. We have regular sales meetings with our people. Regular. Not just when we feel like it. Now, they might not be an hour long or anything like that. Sometimes it might be 15 minutes on a Monday morning prior. Or it might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we know we don't have any sessions. The next thing you need is consistent promotion. Consistent not only in the regularity, but consistent in the appearance. So that when a customer or a prospect sees an ad, they know it belongs to you. That you should start to give a feel or a style to your advertising. Folks, as I go across the country from studio to studio, I see a mishmash of advertising there. You can't make up your mind what your studio wants to be. Remember, you can't be all things to all people. You know, pick out your market, go after it. This is something in marketing warfare the authors call guerrilla tactics. You know, find a section of the market that's defendable and then take it. Next thing is customer service. I feel that in the 1990s, we're going to have to spend more time improving our customer service, much more so than our photography. Friends, I'm here to tell you that good photography does not ensure you're making a profit. In fact, bad photography can be sold at a profit and is done so every day. And if you don't think so, visit your local Olin Mills and they'll prove the point. Bad photography can be sold and can be sold at a profit. I'm not advocating that we do substandard photography, but I'm saying that if your photography right now is what you have, you've got to start someplace. Go with what you have, and if you feel you have to improve it, but don't get crazy about it. The next thing is a constant dollar inspection. You have to look at your profit continually. We mark on our lab bags what the cost was, or what the cost was to the customer. What comes back from the lab, it has the cost from the lab there. We can see at an instant if that markup is where it should be. It takes just a little bit of time. Your detailist or whoever puts your orders together can do it very simply. And you'll find that you can look at that and then see where your profit actually lies. Does it have to be raised? Are there things that need to be adjusted? There's some guy that's written a book, and he's very well respected, and he wants you to take your business and he wants you to chop it up into little worm-like bites and inspect. And you know, the guy practically wants you to know what you get per wall and what your profit is. I don't have time for that, folks. I'm busy. I'm a photographer. Okay? If I wanted to be a bean counter, I'd have gone to school and been a certified public accountant. Thank God I didn't have to do that for a living. But you just need something that can give you a quick look and see where you're at and what you need to change. And this is a very good method. And the next thing is variety in photography. What's the old adage? 3 most important things in sessions is variety, variety, variety. You need that more than anything. I looked at my work critically after I joined the Lyle Ramsey group. And I found that I was showing 20 poses, or so I thought I was. What I was really showing was 4 poses done 5 times. Okay, each pose. So you have to give a much higher variety in your work. That's what the customers are actually buying. Now, they may buy that same old head and shoulders portrait, but the variety is what books the session. I mean, I'm going to show you some wild stuff here today in some of my slides. And most of them my wife looks at and says, boy, that stuff is terrible. Did you really sell that? Yeah, we do. And a lot of it, though, is what books the kids. They see it and they say, oh, yeah, that's great. Or even the adults see it and say, gosh, I'd like something like that for me. Just last week, we had a lady bring in her 72-year-old parents, and they want a background done with them in black sweaters on this patent vinyl background I have that's black, and they just want to see faces and kind of some glitz in the background. That's what they want. They saw that from a picture in a magazine, and it's similar to a photograph that we do. So adults are interested in this new stuff too. With our plan sales program, you've got to set goals. Now, folks, I hope you have a goal, because without it, you really have no plan to get any place. If you don't have a goal, and your only reason for going to work tomorrow is the reason that you went to work yesterday, you're 2 days older and you're no closer to the goal you haven't got. You should have a goal. I'd like to ask you to set a goal. If you don't learn anything from me today, I wish that you just learned to set a goal. When you go home tomorrow to your studio, I'd like to have you set a goal. You will set a goal. In fact, I'd like to suggest that if you don't set a goal, you will not be able to sleep the next day. And if you don't set a goal the next day, I can guarantee you that you'll have trouble sleeping if you don't set a goal. Now, let your team know the plan. The day where your employees don't know what your plan is or what your goal is, that's dead. That's management in the 50s. My employees know what my checkbook balance is, they know what I make on an order, they know what each other gets paid. I have absolutely no qualms about them knowing how much money I make, because then they know what possibility lies therein for them to make. My employees average with their bonus in the $12 to $15 an hour range. Now their base pay isn't that high, but if they reach our sales goals, they can earn quite a bit of money. Get rid of the commission system. That stinks. That's terrible. Why should one person get the rewards for the entire team doing the work? Folks, if the commission salesperson sells a $1,000 order, you know, the detailist has to order it and get it in correctly, and they have to put the order together, make sure everything's right. They did their part, the photographer did his part, the person that made the appointment had to do their part in order to book the session, to convince them to come in. Why should one person get a commission? That's lousy. Even the guys that sit on the bench at this basketball game this afternoon will still get their bonus money because they had some part in the final result. And the next thing, hold regular sales meetings, as we talked of earlier. I'll tell you about our bonus system a little bit later and how it works. On your consistent promotion, you should have some promotions that run annually, some that run semi-annually, like maybe a copy and restoration special, a 4x5 as-is copy for X dollars. A promotion should run 30 days or less. And I find the ones that run 5 days or less are much more effective. And a phone call always increases response. Now, a lot of people sit there and say, well, I don't want to be like Olin Mills. Folks, a cold call is different than a follow-up call to a promotion. You'll find that a lot of times you get off the phone, your customers will thank you for the telephone call. And that's what we want. We want to build this customer relationship. You have to realize that today, customers are not buying our products, they are investing in relationships. And that's what we're selling. Here's a promotion tip. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. Why is it that people run good promotions year after year, and then they go to some seminar and the guy says, well, you know, I'd have done it like this, and see my 4-color brochure, and you fix the promotion, now it doesn't make any money. I fix mine when they quit making money. That's when they're broken. If they're not broken, don't screw up with them, okay? Don't fix it if it isn't broken. Keep it going, make it make money. Don't worry about your peers what your peers think. You want to design ads to impress your customers. The idea is to get them to buy. Now, it's nice to win the awards, the promotional creativity things. I don't know if you have that here in Nebraska at your convention. We have it in Michigan, we have it in Ohio at the regional. Those are very nice. I think the only other rule they should add is we should see how much money the guy made from the promotion. Because on a lot of these things, they look nice, but I can guarantee you they didn't make the guy any money. The promotion has got to bring money. That's what it's about. It's fine. If you want to win the award, that's fine. Just don't tell me about it. Because I'm not interested in a promotion if it didn't bring you any money. If you had a promotion that made you money, tell me about it because I want to tell other people. And I want to make some money. I don't want to impress Donovan here with my fantastic mailing pieces. And, you know, I don't really feel compelled to have Monty look at one of my brochures and go, oh, God, that's just simply marvelous. I don't care about that. 3 people I want to impress, my banker, my CPA, and my stockbroker. That's who I want to impress. My customer service policy is I always give the customer what they want, whether they had it coming or not. What this means is if a customer is dissatisfied with a product or service in my studio, our reply is, just tell us what you want. Now, if you ask the customer what they want, you'll avoid giving them too little or too much. Sometimes we find it's really nothing more they want than just a little reassurance. I'm going to tell you a story. Just before I went to Palm Springs, I had a customer that came in, she spent about $300. And she selected a photograph that was soft focus. And in the 8x10s and 5x7s, she said, they're fuzzy. We explained to her they're soft focus. She says, they're fuzzy. I don't want these. Tell me what you want. I want an 8x10, 2 5x7s out of this other pose. Fine, they're yours. She then plunked out $100 in cash as a 1/3 deposit on her reorder. Now folks, if I had told her to hit the street, do you think that I've gotten that reorder for another $300? Probably not. She brought her husband to back her up because she was sure she'd have to fight with us. And as they left, he turned to her and said, "You dragged me all the way down here to deal with this man who stood there and bent over backwards to give you what you wanted." And he said, "And I think what we got in the first place is what we should have had." Okay? Now, that customer is going to go and she's going to spread her aura of influence with the people she knows. And we're going to talk about the aura of influence later. But it would have been completely different had I told her, "Hey, forget it. That's what you ordered and that's what you take." Constant profit inspection. Don't expect unless you inspect. You have to look at that business. One of the ways to do it is to put the retail price on your lab bag. When it comes back, you can take a look at it. It's simple, easy, not tough. Set a goal for profit and markup. Folks, profit is not what's left over for us to take. It should be a goal that we aim at. You want to review these areas monthly at the minimum. I see people, when they explain a profit and loss statement, down here, well, profit's what's left over. Folks, I have over $100,000 invested in my Jackson studio and probably about $50,000 invested in my Adrian studio, and I'm not willing to take what's just left over. I get paid first, and I decide what I'm going to get paid up front and at the beginning. I'll let my competitors take what's left over. I'm not interested in leftovers. I want the first run. So decide what you want to be paid and then adjust prices accordingly. That's a little out of focus, but I think we can read it. You want to raise the price on your best-selling stuff. Repackage the others. And constantly review and adjust prices. If something isn't selling, you don't lower the price. You just make adjustments until it sells. Maybe you have to discontinue that item and put something else in its place. And please, don't worry about the guy down the street. Worry about your own studio. You know how much you've got to have. Now, if my competitor wants to sell an 8x10 for $10 less than I do, fine. I know what I have to have. I worry about me. Here's some tips for increasing your cash flow and your profits painlessly. Number one, tomorrow, increase all of your deposits. If you're taking $200 deposit to book a wedding, take $250. Now that's not a retail price, so we can talk dollars and cents. I said deposit. Instead of taking $50 for your proof deposit, if you call them proofs, I don't, but increase it to $60. Implement handling fees. Folks, when you buy a new car, they have a delivery charge. You order something through the mail, they have a handling fee. Is it a state law in Nebraska that photographers can't have a handling fee? I don't think so. The lab, most of them charge handling fees. You should have some kind of handling fee. Most of you have been getting reorder charges for a long time, at least I hope you have. If you aren't, you should add those, and nobody complains about those. I've had handling fees, folks, for going on my 3rd year now. And in 3 years, and all the customers I've served, you know how many complaints I've had about handling fee? Anybody want to take a shot? I've had one complaint. One person complained about it. Certainly not enough to make me change my mind. We do not include retouching with any of our finishers. It is extra. And I didn't lower my price when I added the retouching. I kept my price the same and added a retouching fee. Implement finishes, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Cash payment bonus. Now that doesn't mean when somebody brings me an order, I give them a bonus in cash. What that is that if they pay me in full, in cash or by check, I give them a bonus, not a discount. And I'll tell you why. You give somebody a 10% discount for paying in full. On a $200 order, that's $20. Okay? Whereas if you sell them 15 wallets, and the 15 wallets sell for approximately that same amount of money. If they're additional wallets, it'll only cost you a couple bucks. Wouldn't you rather have the extra $18? Customer still got the same thing. Still got that bonus. But it costs you a lot less money. Folks, I want to train you to keep that money in your pocket. Because that's what counts. Customer is still as happy to get 8 free wallets, for example, if they pay in full. Or even 15 free wallets if it's a great big fat order and you think you want to give them something extra. Hey, that's fine. A lot of people say, hey, I don't give free pictures. Whatever. I'm just telling you what works for me. I visited Larry Peters' seminar down in Ohio in February, and he told me that he gives a 5% cash bonus. Now, based on his volume, if he would give wallets instead of that cash bonus, and he even gave it on Visa cards, where you're already paying, some of you are paying 5% on those Visa cards. I pay less, and I'll tell you I'll do that later too. But I said, Larry, I showed him how he could put another $15,000 a year in his pocket by giving 8 free wallets instead. And I still don't think he's convinced. How many people here would enjoy a $15,000 raise this year? I would, yeah. Here's the 2% eye-opener. Now folks, I don't know how much you pay in dues here every year, and it's probably worth every cent of the $5,000 your group paid me to come down here this weekend. But the 2% eye-opener asks you, can you increase your sales by 2%? Anybody here think they can't do that? Moving on, does anybody here think they cannot raise their price this year by 2%? No hands. Anybody here think that they cannot decrease the cost of sales by 2%? No hands, we'll move on. Can anybody here not decrease their overhead by just 2%? No hands, we'll go on, that's good. I'm proud of you. Here's the 1988 year-end profit and loss statement of a studio we'll call the Master Photo Studio. Now they had sales of $150,000. The cost of sales, or in other words, the cost of the product, was 50% or $75,000. That means the gross margin or the gross markup, or some accountants call it the gross profit, was $75,000 or 50%. Boy, it'd be great if we could keep all that. But we have overhead, $67,500, 45%, leaving a profit of $7,500. And I'm assuming that in our overhead we have the photographer salaries and the salaries, but folks, I want to tell you right here, right now, I've looked at the financial statements of a lot of studios, and that net profit is what the photographer makes right there at the bottom. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. Does anybody here, after looking at these figures, think that they are not represented, that they're overstated? No hands, we'll go on. Let's see what happens if we increase our sales by just 2%. Our old sales were $150,000. We increase our sales by just 2%, we get an extra $3,000, and our new sales are $153,000. Our old cost of sales was $75,000. Your cost of sales are still going to go up in relationship because you still have to buy the product, the processing. So that's $1,500. Our new cost of sales is $76,500. Our gross margin was $76,500. Less our overhead, which isn't going to change. You know, our lights didn't go up the same day. The phone didn't go up the same day. So that's still $67,500. Leaves us a new net profit of $9,000. Now, folks, that's a 20% increase over what you did the year before. Just like that. And all we did was increase our sales by 2%. Let's see what happens if we increase prices by 2%. Our new sales were $153. Now, 2% price increase on that same amount of sales were $156 and some change. Less our cost of sales, which now that didn't increase. We're still buying the prints from the lab at the same price. We're still paying the same for whatever service we had. Our new gross margin is $79,560. Our overhead, which again didn't increase, $67,500, is a new net profit of $12,060. Now, folks, we've only changed two areas of our business by 2%, and we've increased our profit by 61%. So far, this has been pretty painless. You guys thought about where you're gonna spend this money yet? I'm gonna show you a little later. We're gonna take the following steps to get a 2% savings in our costs. Now, most people will tell you, hey, get a 2% savings in your costs, and they won't tell you how to do it. I'm gonna tell you how. Get discounts on materials by paying cash or prompt payment. Take advantage of lab specials and discounts. If your lab doesn't offer them, you want to start talking to them about them, especially if you're doing any kind of business at all with your lab. Get 2 sets of previews on wettings. Now, if your lab won't give you a big break on that second set of previews, find a new lab. I can recommend one. We pay 19 cents for a 5x5 second print. And I sell them for considerably more than 19 cents each. That way, I don't have to have an employee do a lot of reorders, because what gets purchased mostly at weddings anyway? Hey, for me, it's 5x5s. I'd like to come up here and stand up here and tell you that, oh yeah, we sell a lot of 16x20s, a lot of 20x24s, but I have a tough time lying, okay? I'm not very good at it. Plus, you've got me on tape. That's really bad, because then it gets back to people and I look stupid, see? So I sell mostly 5x5s. I'm not going to come up here and stroke you. That's what I sell. And if that's the case, why should I pay the lab $1 or $1.50 for them when I can get them for 19 cents? And you know something? There's no state law that says you can't sell them for the very same price you're getting now. It's wonderful. Isn't this a great country? Now, reduce the number of exposures you take. Most photographers take way too many pictures. That's it, plain and simple. Especially get some good-looking babe in there and go, oh, beautiful baby, you know, whoa, 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 whoa. This is convention stuff, you know, and before you know it, you look down there and you're taking 50 shots. You know? Set up a goal for yourself. Say, look, this session I'm taking 20 pictures on right now. Next time I do it, I'm going to do it in 16. Still charge the same price, of course. But cut down the number of exposures. And if you have trouble seeing this, put a little sign up above the camera or behind the sitter or someplace where you can see it, of course where it's not in the photograph. And it says, every exposure is 150. Now don't put a dollar sign or a decimal point. But 150 will tell you that every exposure you take costs you $1.50. That's the national average. Some places might be a little lower, some places might be a little higher. But folks, it can motivate you to cut another 5 or 6 exposures out of that sitter. Now, our new sales were $156,060. Our cost of sales, which we're now going to reduce by 2%, goes down to $74,970. Our new gross margin is $81,090. We subtract our overhead, which didn't change. New net profits $13,590, or we're at an 81% increase. Finally, we're going to reduce our overhead by taking the following steps. We're going to get rid of unapplied or wasted time, not only ours, but our employees. Okay? We're going to get rid of overtime. Most people waste too much time and it leads to overtime. Or a lot of workers kind of take their time during the day to end up with overtime. A sad fact in America. If you cut it out, you'll find they get stuff done during the time allotted. What's the Peter principle? The task expands to fill the time allotted for the task. That's it, exactly. Poor conservation of utilities. Lights, water, Bud Light, whatever it is there that your studio runs on, you know, we're wasting a lot of it. Abuse of postage, telephone, and office supplies by employees. Some of you folks, if you have big staffs, that'd take care of your 2% right there. I hate to be petty, you know, but it's a business. And sometimes I've seen employee phone calls add up to $20 a month. And you think, well, what's $20? Well, over a year, it's almost $250. It's a business, friends. At Exxon, you get fired for using the company phone for personal calls. Just because we're not Exxon doesn't mean we shouldn't have the same rules. Get rid of the toys. Stay out of the toy store. Forget the exotic equipment. Okay, like that 500mm Hasselblad lens you bought because Dean Collins came and showed you his program. Said, yeah, I photographed that with a 500mm Hasselblad lens. So you ran down to the camera store and you punked out $2,800 for this sucker. You used it one time and then you threw it in the back because in the studio you found you'd have to blow a hole in the wall to use it for a portrait in there. Sell it. And don't buy any more stuff like that unless you can really show you're going to use it. Photographers are second only to fishermen in buying gadgets. Now our new sales, 156,060, less our new cost of sales, 74,970. Don't write this down, I'm going to sell you something later, they'll have it all on there. Our new gross margin is 81,090. Our new overhead drops to 66,150 after we take that 2% reduction. Our new net profit, $14,940, and that's a 99% increase over your old profit. Now, I'd like to tell you that you need a good understanding of financial statements. And if you're anything like I am, the only numbers I want to work with are on my bank book. Okay, I'm not a numbers person. My wife is, and she actually helped me with this. She's an accountant. If you're not real good on financial statements, you know, you kind of look at them and say, what the hell is this? I don't understand this. What you want to do is, you can take a class from Data Tech Institute. They're in Clifton, New Jersey. They have a program called Understanding and Analyzing Financial Statements for Non-Financial Professionals. In English, that says, this class is for you. It's $245, an all-day class, and they give you a workbook, and they have them all around the country. I know they have one in Iowa here in Des Moines, and they have them all over. They even come up toward Jackson, Michigan. The Guide to Understanding Financial Statements by S.B. Costalis, McGraw-Hill Books, sells for about $22. It's very easy to read. It's not real dry and boring. Well, as much as accounting crap cannot be dry and boring. Okay? And the McGraw-Hill 36-hour accounting course. Now, folks, this is a great book. You want to buy this book. Again, it's about 20 bucks. And it shows you in 36 hours how to be an accountant. Now, not a very good accountant, but at least enough to understand accounting principles. At the end of the book, they give you a test. You send the test in, they grade it, they'll send you a certificate of completion back. It's a great book and easy to read. Now, the 2% eye-opener illustrates how a small increase can dramatically change your profit picture. And it also should alert you to how small leaks can make your business go the other way. What would happen if your sales dropped by 2%? What would happen if you gave everybody a 2% discount? What would happen if your cost of overhead went up 2%? What would happen if your cost of sales went up by 2%? That 99% would work against you. Now, everything except for sales, that 2% increase or the 2% decrease in overhead and cost goes right to your pocket. Think of it as a raise for you. What's wrong with it? Now that's based on a small example. Ask yourself, hey, can I raise my prices and sales more than 2%? I'll bet you can. Heck, I almost doubled my sales in 1 year. Can you cut your cost of overhead and your cost of sales by more than 2%? Keeping in mind that Lee Iacocca says, and I quote, any manager that can't cut 5% out of his cost of doing business doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Direct quotation in the New York Times. They even printed it. So keeping that in mind, that you should be able to cut at least 2%. Probably more like 5%. And probably, if you're like most of you, probably 10%. And it makes a big difference in your business. Now, we're going to change these. We're going to go ahead a little bit. Are there any questions before we start here? Any questions on the 2% formula? Everybody see how it applies to their business? Good group here. Now we're going to work on discovering more of our studio's hidden wealth. And it's there, you just have to know where to look for it. And that's presented by me, you already know me. My guarantee to you is that what I'm going to tell you today is fact and not fiction. These are things that I'm actually using. Folks, it's sorry to say that most of the speakers, I won't say most, that might be a generalization, but let's say a lot of the speakers today could win a Pulitzer Prize for fiction. What they tell you in their seminars is not true, or their theories, or when you really press them, they say, well, I just kind of thought about that, or I heard about that. I used to go to some of these speakers' studios, and the phones didn't ring. Their pictures on the wall sometimes were beautiful, but their checkbook balances were ugly. They weren't making any money. But some of the photographers that got laughed at in the print competition were driving Cadillacs, and they were eating steaks. I wanted to be a master of photography. The first 10 years I was in business, it was my goal. And at the end of 10 years, I didn't have a very good studio business, and I did not have but one printer. And I went to a convention. I was about ready to get out of photography. And I spoke to Harold Bohne, who happens to be the print chairman in Ohio every year. And Harold gave me the best advice that anybody has given me since I've been in photography. He says, Steve, he says, you know, you buy your master's degree in essence. You buy it. He says, make a good living for yourself and your family, and then when you can afford it, go out there and buy it, babe, it's yours. You've got it. And I said, it makes sense. You know, that's the way to do it. Then I went to a seminar by Gary Gentoff, and he told me in his seminar, along with everybody else, that he says, I think probably one of the worst things we do for new members is we send them to a state convention. He said, they listen to these speakers to take these beautiful photographs. We send them to take these beautiful photographs, and these guys actually get up, and I've heard this, they say, you know, you have to concentrate on your craft, because that's the only way that customers will come to you. I'm a businessman, I'm not an artist. I tried being an artist, I wasn't very good at it. Okay, I decided to become a businessman, and I made money, and quite frankly, folks, I made more money, I'm losing my voice, than I thought was ever possible in a photographic studio. A lot of money. Now, if you want to be an artist, I'm not saying that's wrong. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying if you want to make money, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you how to make money where you're not ashamed to look your competitors in the eye. That if your state group has a trip, you can take it. If you want to send your children to college, you can do it. Or if you want to retire and not have to ask your kids for money, you can do that too. Thank you. Now, most people, when you tell them that you're going to give a business program, say, oh God. You know, they're interested in seeing pictures. Mark told me that you guys wouldn't last an hour and a half if I didn't show you some pictures. So I've got some pictures. We are going to show them, but they're going to be shown after the break. Okay? And that way, I'll punish you and make you watch this stuff. But actually, I'm kind of a humorous kind of guy, and so it shouldn't be too awful bad. We'll try to make it light and airy. Here's my 12 steps to success. The first thing I did was I decided that I had to have a new attitude. A lot of times I got up on Monday and I didn't want to go to that studio. Hey, I decided that I'd like to do this, and I might as well be in a good frame of mind Monday as well as Friday. On my car, most days, I have a yellow sticky until it blows off, and I have to replace it with one word that says attitude. So it constantly reminds me, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let's do it and feel good about it. Now, we hear about how crappy the business climate is. This was taken out of USA Today just about a month ago. The Midwest, folks, is second only to the Northeast who's going to hire the most workers. And the Northeast ought to be the first because they have more people. So if you look at it that way, we're really doing the best. Things are good. These are the good old days, like they say. Why is it that in times of recession, there are still studios that do well, and other ones are going down the tubes? You know what does it? There's about a 6-inch space. It's about 6 inches, and it goes right there from ear to ear. And that controls how well your studio does or does not do. Put more emphasis on business, less emphasis on print shows. At least that's what I did. Keep out of the toy store and associate with Eagles. Forget the pity parties. You go to these conventions, you sit around with these guys, say, oh my God, business is so crappy, or my customers are jerks. Forget those people, because you fall under their aura of influence. And the aura of influence says that whoever you're listening to at that moment plants a message in your subconscious mind. And then your attitude becomes the same. Forget it. You don't need it. Let the negatives go on their merry way. Misery loves company. I don't. I'm not miserable. If you're in debt, set up a program to get out. List what your debt is, and then set up a time to pay it back. Avoid the BS artists. These speakers that go and tell you the stuff that you really don't need to know to make money. There's a guy, and I won't mention his name, I admire him for the artist that he is, but he shows you these beautiful photographs, and then when you get to his seminar, what they are is snapshots that have a ton of artwork on them. Now, the guy's got probably 1 million print merits, but I wonder how many of those things he sells to his customers. That doesn't help me run my business. Why should I bother hearing them? Now, if you want to hang prints, and he can teach you about design and art, that's one thing. But don't think you're going to change your business that way and make it work, because it's not going to work. Learn to serve your customers' interests. Find out what they want, not what you want. When somebody calls you on the phone and says, hey, I got to sell 12 magazine subscriptions a day and then I get a trip to Florida, who do you think he's interested in, you or him? You've got to be interested in the customer. Now, for me, that wasn't always easy, because most of us are interested in number one, and that's us. So when I'm at the studio, I pretty much have to work sometimes to really be interested in the customer. I admit it, okay? I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how great I am. I'm human, and I've got my faults and foibles like everybody else. I'm just telling you, if you have those problems, don't be ashamed. Just identify it. And if you can't really get interested in your customer, don't go out and kill yourself. Hire somebody that can, and they'll come and relay the information to you. Learn how to promote and advertise. That's where still most photographers are really lacking, in learning how to promote and advertise. I'll tell you a quick story. As I rode on the plane, I sat next to a gentleman. He struck up a conversation. We talked for a while. He said, you're a photographer, huh? I said, yeah. I said, tell me some of the studios you know in Omaha, Nebraska. And he drew a complete blank, folks. He couldn't name one. And then after I prompted him a little bit, I said, well, how about Donald Jack? Yeah, I've heard that name. I've heard that. Olin Mills. He could tell me Olin Mills. That's the one he could tell me, but I didn't count that. We don't count the studio name. I said, well, okay, how about Lyle Ramsey Photography? Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. How about, he says, wait, Tom Gold did my wedding. Tom Gold. And then we find out that it's Tom, somebody that lives on Gold Street. But he knew, he got half right. So, folks, that comes to a couple of conclusions that we can make, or a couple of assumptions. Number one, people in Omaha are incredibly stupid. Number two, photographers aren't doing their job in letting the public know that they're out there. Now, I'm not stupid. I know Omaha is a big city, okay? There's a lot of people out there, and it wasn't a very scientific sampling. One guy out of, what, 5 million people or whatever live here? Okay. You know? But the fact remains that we're probably not really letting our clients know that we're around. And we have to work on it a little bit. Now, the next thing that somebody's going to tell me is how expensive the newspaper is. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I feel that if I operate a business, I ought to look like a business person. This is how I dress most days in my studio, except senior time. I got tired of ripping $300, $400 suits. I'm kind of a big guy. I should lose weight and not only ruin $200 suits. But I found that the kids kind of got turned off sometimes by a suit. So I usually wear a pair of slacks and a shirt, like a golf shirt that has Bohne portrait galleries over the pocket, my name over here on this side, and they feel a little bit more comfortable with that. And if I rip that shirt, it's only 20 bucks. But, you know, as I went and visited other studios, I found that most of them, the people dressed atrociously. I mean, when people think of photographers, I think a negative image comes to their mind. This guy that played Animal on the Lou Grant show set us back years in public image. Just years. Think about it. Visit your Mercedes dealer and see how those salesmen dress. I can guarantee you it won't be in an open neck shirt. Now, I'm not trying to convince you to wear a suit and tie every day, but I just want you to think about how you dress when you are working with your customers. The conclusion is you can dress any way you darn well please in your studio, just as long as you're willing to accept the consequences. Next thing we want to do is slash the overhead to the bone. We want to get it down there so we're a lean, mean, money-making machine. We're gonna pay the lab cash. Number one, because we're always current with them. Number two is because we can take their discount. We're gonna buy case lot film, and if we don't have enough volume to buy case lot film, call the guy that, you know, some other competitor and say, hey, look, you wanna go in together and buy film? Part-time employees instead of full-time. Helps you save a lot of money. You still need some full-time employees, but a lot of times a part-time employee will do. I buy supplies, if ever possible, only on sale, and if I have to, I'll buy a couple of years' worth. I have enough paper clips to probably last me till I die. But Quill one day had a sale on them. You could, if you bought 10 boxes, they'd give you as many boxes as you wanted, a penny a piece. I warehouse my folders with my folder company, and they drop ship them to me as I need them. That way I can buy a couple of years worth of time. Eventually I'm going to cut folders out. And then I save the money by getting the heavier discount. And folks, I always take the discount. Whether I pay late or not, I always take the discount. If they want to rebill me for the couple of bucks, that's fine. That's a trick that big business uses all the time. You might as well use it too. I send a postcard instead of using Ma Bell. 15 cents is cheaper than a phone call. I think the written word is probably better than the spoken word in most occasions. If you call them up and say, yeah, your originals are ready and you got to have an appointment to see them, and then they pop up on your doorstep, you know, somewhere communication wasn't good. And I entered competitions for my samples. Now, unfortunately, Lyle Ramsey has stopped the gold medal competition, whatever they call it, but when we sent in samples and they were accepted, we got a free 16 by 20 print. I didn't buy samples, no, I was done with them, I sold them. They didn't cost me anything. Next thing I wanted to work on was build my community image, because I felt I wasn't really all that well known in my community. All the other studios have been in business for 20 or 30 years, and I was just a young kid starting up, young upstart. So I made sure that not only my appearance was good, but my studio appearance was good. Most other studios, they sent their proofs or previews, we call them originals, in the mail in a paper folder. First I went to a series of mats, and I went to the art leather folios, and I use them by Grossmetic Burroughs. But none of my competitors are doing that, and it just makes mine look so much better. I have my name die stamped on the outside of every one, because a lot of people see those originals, and I want them to see my name. I try to get a news release quarterly if I can, even more often. If I win a local print competition, I send it in. One year I gave myself a promotion because I didn't have any news to give them. And that was one of the biggest write-ups they ever gave me. I changed my title from studio manager to director of photography. Oh man, that was big news. Hey, same job, same place, but I don't know, it sounded more important to the newspaper. Thank yous and customer surveys. We send a thank you card to every single customer. And at the break, I'll pull out a little packet and I'll show you an example of the one we use. We get them from Harrison & Harrison. We use the same company for collection cards. When people have orders waiting for deposit or orders to pick up, we send them things like, say, a little guy on the front says, shucks, we don't expect you to pay all your bills. You open it up, it says, just ours. And you'd be amazed at how we send those things out on Friday, and folks, Saturday, we're taking in money. Studio name goes on all our prints. We do not use the white stuff that comes from the lab. Folks, at the Olympics, they don't give white medals. They're gold, silver, and bronze. Okay? Anything less on your prints is amateurish, as far as I'm concerned. Our prints are gold foil stamped. The larger prints, 11 by 14 larger, those are signed personally by the artist or somebody that works for him. So, we started including a small gift with every order. I've used ink pens, I've used stick-up calendars, I used mirrors. Now these mirrors are a good one. I had a thing that I used them for years. They were great at bridal shows. See, purses today, man, don't come with mirrors like they did when you were a little boy and you know, you play with mom's purse and you looked in the mirror and all that stuff. They don't put those in purses anymore. These mirrors that we had a nice little rubber case, and on the outside it says, inside is the most important person we know. They pull it out and hey, it's a mirror, and there's the most important person we know. They were talked about for a long time, and I still have people stop by and say, hey, do you still have the mirrors and could I get one? and I haven't used them for probably 6 years. That's stuck in their mind. Key rings, we find those effective. Magnets, I use these little teddy bears that I give for my bear hug days. Says, I love photography by Bohne. We use stickers the same teddy bear but with sunglasses that we give to seniors. It says, photography is hot at Bohne or something like that. And I have kids come in and say, well, you know, this guy took me out for a date last night and he had one of these stickers on his dashboard. Can I get one? Sure you can. There's something different that sticks in the mind of your customers, and that's not a play on words. And we also use mats, which were very good for new families in the community to have our name on them. Now, I'm not going to kid you and say they're going to rush in and buy a portrait, but that gives them the first chance of looking at your studio name when they do need photographic work done. Now, the next thing was we cleaned up our language, and I don't mean that we were in there swearing all day, but I mean we call them sessions instead of sittings. We call them originals, not proofs. A lot of people say, what's the difference between original and proof? I don't know, but at my studio it's usually 10 bucks more than my competitors give them. That's the difference. We glaze our prints, we don't spray them. And I convince my customers to invest in photography, not spend money on photography. And Mr. Bohne never does a resitting. He makes additional originals. A resitting sounds like you screwed up and you did it over. Additional originals, well, the customer decided to have some more. Now the result is, in my community, I have a super image. In the past, the college presidents used to go to Chicago and have Baccarat do their portrait. I did the community college's new president. The hospital went as far as Detroit to find photographers to do their directory, and when they were all done, they told me that I had the best quality that they had found. Some studios offered to shoot this directory for free just to have the opportunity to make sales to the doctor. That was my biggest portrait sale. They wrote me one check for $10,000. Wasn't done free. They paid. And that didn't include the money that I made selling portraits to the doctors. Plus, I have these doctors in my files. And folks, once you take a doctor's picture, he ain't liable to ever have it taken again. They're just too busy to fritter their time away on such trivialities. And I do a lot of resale business on my files. Omaha's got a hospital. You can do it too. 10,000 bucks turns me on. When I can make a sale and have somebody write me a single check for $10,000. That's exciting. I love it. This is what my studio looks like on the outside. There's a frame shop next to me, which I do not own. It's owned by my landlord who has the camera store. This is a paint board right next to my studio. And this is what's known as an image building ad. You notice that there's no special to make you come in and buy bridal photography. However, this board has caused people to stop on what's one of the busiest streets in town and look at it. I had a man that came in, I wish I'd been there, my employee told me about it, that drove by and he says, I have been in the outdoor advertising business for over 35 years. He says, I'd like to tell you that that's probably the most beautiful billboard I've ever seen in my life. Now, ordinarily, the company charges about $2,400 a month for that billboard if you want it 1 month. Prices, folks, are very negotiable if you know how, when, and why. In January, most advertising takes a drop. I got this board for 6 months. Starting this month, it'll have 2 seniors on there, and it'll say Senior Sizzle at Bohne Portrait Galleries. But I got this board for 6 months, including one change, for $1,000 a month. $6,000 for a 6-month period of time. My weddings are up so much, and I don't photograph many of them, I have staff that does them, that it's just amazing. And I know where it's come from, right here. I have a jacket that I wear with my name on the back. I've had people stop me at the shopping mall or at the movies and say, are you the guy that has that billboard? God, that's beautiful. It was $6,000 for 6 months. But I'm trying to position myself as the photographer in town. My goal is that when people, if you say, Name a portrait studio. The answer is Bohne. Immediately, Bohne. Next thing I did was I made a major push to improve customer service. I didn't make some major in the military push. I actually did it. It was a major push, okay? I used lab control sheets so I could always track my orders. I have an order ready card, which at the break I'll show you some of these things. It says, your order will be ready such and such a day. Hey, please don't call me before that. Wallet reorder cards. About 1/3 of the way or 2/3 of the way down our little plastic wallet box, we put this wallet reorder card. And it says, this was posed, whatever, 5, 6, 10. It says, if you run short of wallets, call us with your Visa or MasterCard. We'll have them for you in 14 working days or less. And then you flip it over, and on the back it says, please don't hurt my reputation. Mr. Bohne has worked long and hard to perfect this craft, and when you make a cheap knockoff copy of our work, it lessens our reputation. Please don't copy my work. Next thing we have is original release form. What it does is it shows them the position of the pictures in the folios, so they don't have to take the pictures out or mark on, and it also is a model release. We have an attention studio sticker, so when somebody buys originals or they have something extraordinary with their order, we stick it on the file, and so the detailers can see and double check and make sure that condition's been met. And we used to have a written inspection policy. My people have been with me quite a while now. I don't have that up anymore. But if you have new people especially, put a list up what they should look for on the place where your mail room or wherever you put the orders together. Hey, is the surface scratched? It gets sent back. Are the corners bent? It gets sent back. Is the color good? It gets sent back. And at the very bottom of the sign is, if you're in doubt, ask yourself this question. Would I pay my money for this picture? That's it, simply. Would I pay my money for this picture? The answer is no, the lab gets it back. Plain and simple. Now the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to improve customer relations. I wanted my customers and I to get along together. And I want them to think about me. And I think this is probably a good place to stop, take a break, get a drink, and we'll come back to it.
Refreshments are in the back of the room, and I wanted to also let everybody know that right after Steve's program, we're going
Yes, I'm going to pass out a speaker review form, and don't fill it out right now, you can wait till the end. And most people don't seem very motivated to fill these things out, but I have,
You get this all taken.
I have something that I'm going to give you absolutely free if you'll fill them out. A discount. So, so kind of, you can sit and decide during this whole thing whether I did a good job, a bad job, or no job at all.
snow job.
Snow job, okay. Or you have to remember that I have cashed that check for $5,000, so I guess that's different. Now, before we get back into the slides, I'll pass around a couple of things. Again, remember, I want to kind of set myself apart from my competition. And I do that by doing things they don't do. I mean, that's pretty simple, isn't it? That the things that people remember are the things that are different from what your competitors do. And at the end of my higher price sessions, or during an ambassador session, which we'll talk about ambassadors in a little bit, I usually finish the session by saying, geez, wouldn't it be great to have one of these pictures that you can take home right now? This session looks so good, and I think you're going to be so happy with it. Wouldn't it be nice to take something home? They say, oh God, yes, I can hardly wait to see them. And then, what we do is we pop a little something out at them. Comes in a little folder. You just kind of pass them around so everybody gets to see them. And say, well look, we've got a little something for you to take home right now. During the Tom's over here taking it apart. During the session, what we do is we take a Polaroid, And we don't show it to them, we want it to be a surprise. We buy these little black folders from Medic Barrows. They stamp our name on them. I bought a billion of them. I forget how many I got, but they were fairly inexpensive. I think 5,000 of them might have cost me $300, $400, I can't remember. But if you check with Medic Barrows, they'd be sure to tell you. If you're shooting with Hasselblad, you've got a little bit of a problem. The square opening is larger than your Hasselblad Polaroid, but they make an oval version. So you can buy the oval folder and do the same thing. But people are really impressed with that, and I actually have kids that come in and say, am I going to get a picture like Mary Jones did? You know, one that I can take home right away? And I said, sweetheart, I don't know what you're talking about. But sure, she'll get one. Okay? They're very inexpensive. The whole thing cost me less than 50, 60 cents. It's great advertising. Okay? And somebody's bound to steal that idea and go out on the platform and talk about what a great idea it was, but that's what we do. Now, I do have here a ambassador handbook, which we'll talk about and we'll pass around for everybody to look at when we get to senior ambassadors. Is anybody here currently using ambassadors or student representatives? Just a couple. If you're having difficulty in getting into certain high schools, the ambassador program can work very well for you. We first learned it from Gary Gentoff. In fact, I think even back in the 70s, I think I went to a seminar, and my wife went to a seminar by some studio down in Georgia, and they were using it. We tried it, and we failed miserably. We did it again here in the late, must have been 85, we started up again, and this time we've been quite a bit more successful. The thank you cards that we use come from Harrison Publishing. Their name and numbers on the back. We'll pass this around. I buy a bunch of them. Just call them and ask them for their samples and brochure. This one's got a porcupine on the front that says, you're an outstanding customer. Thanks for sticking with us. Okay? They're all on the humorous side. This one says, I feel very awkward, and the gal is slipping on a pair of skates. You open it up, it says, when I have to mention money. And we send it and say, hey, how about a deposit on your order? We're still holding it open. Folks, on my customer questionnaire that I send out, I have people tell me that one of the things they liked most about my studio was that I reminded them when it was time to pay. We did it in a very friendly fashion. We didn't pressure them. We just set on the reminders. This time of year, if you've got orders still waiting for deposit for those kids that you did last summer or late fall, now's the time to do it. And just write on this card or this note, hey, if you bring me your deposit today, I can have them in time for graduation. And that motivates a lot of people. Motivates a lot of people. So these cards are not very expensive. Again, I have two studios. I usually buy about $3,000 worth of them at a time, but I got two studios. I'm buying a couple of years in advance so I can use get the biggest discount possible. So you don't have to buy $3,000 worth just because I do. You can buy $100 worth at a time or whatever they have, and they work good. Some people say, well, geez, how do I send these to all my customers? You know, it's a lot of pain in the butt. I get my envelopes plain. I don't stamp my address on the envelope because I don't want to think it's an ad. We handwrite the envelopes. I sign every card personally. You know, it's not a stamp. I sign it. And what I do is when I have some spare time, I'll just pull up a bunch of cards and start signing them. And then my girls tell me when a really good order comes by, they'll put stars on them. Okay? And if it was a really good order, like $400, $500, $600, I ran a little note that says, gee, thanks for that terrific order, and tell all your friends you're great. Okay? So it's personalized in a way. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I remember every kid, because I don't. I'm doing about 600 seniors, so I can't remember them all. But it's just something that sets me apart from my competition. You know, how many times do you get a thank you card from somebody you buy a product from? Pretty rare. You know? And we're going to talk about that a little bit in the future too. Now, the packet of information that I have today has several items on it. I sell it for $20. I'm not ashamed that I sell it for $20. I think it's worth $200. But I wouldn't sell many of them at $200, so I'm taking 20. Number one, it has a letter that goes out to our senior portrait customers, tells them that we have a free family portrait session for them, and it also asks them to fill out our questionnaire. This questionnaire cost me a lot of my personal time to develop, and I feel it's the one thing that increased my business to the point that it is now. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but it has the questions that you want to ask so that you can increase your customer service, improve your customer relations, and get testimonials from your customers to use in your advertising. Folks, you can go out and say, hey, I'm the best photographer in Omaha. And people go, yeah. But if you can get Mary Jones to say, hey, Steve Bohne is the best photographer in Omaha. They go, hey, I know her. And she wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. And it works. Personal testimonials have great power. We have a promotion where we send a letter to the class officers. And I started this because a guy in Ohio was beating my pants off at my Adrian studio. He was a crummy photographer, but he got a lot of business by giving these kids a free setting and a folio of prints. And I said, the guy's eating my lunch. So I went ahead and added a new twist. I sent the letters to the class officers to all the schools, just addressed them to South High School, 123 Main Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Attention, junior class president, junior class vice president. I didn't know the names, you know. So we passed them out. Well, I'll pick up the junk I'm dropping. Sent them out to school. Schools gave them to them. Kids called, came in for a free session. We gave them an 8-post folio. No strings attached. Now, I'm sending them to schools where I'm weakest. And these kids then come in, and they can pass out a class officer referral card. They put their name on it and says the bearer of this card will receive free gold stamping of their first name and year on their wallets from any senior portrait package order. There's no limit to the number of wallets stamped on the original order. Well, this item cost me nothing. I get free gold stamping for my lab anyway. Okay? The kid gets 4 free wallets of his sitting for each one of these cards he passes out. And I'm already getting calls for 1990 seniors and say, oh, by the way, I got this pink card. So it's working. Our student representatives put their name on one of our student rep cards. On the back, it says, bring this card when you have your session taken. You get your session half off, whatever session you want, and you get 15 additional wallets free. That means they can't get different poses. They have to be the same pose as their order. The reps will outline what they get in just a moment. The wallet box card, I have a sample of that in there. Also on the back, please don't copy my prints. We don't say we're going to prosecute you, although it says that it's against the law. There's a couple of photographers in Michigan are trying a novel approach. They print on the outside of their brochures, warning, international copyright laws provide for penalties of up to $100,000 and 10 years in jail for infringing on copyrights or whatever the actual law is. And then it says in bold letters at the bottom, it says, this studio will pay 25% of any reward to any person informing us of people copying our work. Whoa. That's getting down and dirty. That's going to cut down the copying. I don't know if you got it around here, but there are some companies that will get the list of students from schools, and they send the seniors a letter that says, hey, we'll copy your wallets, 100 wallets for $19.95 or $9.95 or something like that. And they'll put the brochures right at the office in the school. I mean, these people are blatantly breaking the law. That's another reason why I put my name on them, because I also put my copyright stamp on them, and that has really cut back the copying. If you don't do it, you should. Now, some people don't do it because they're afraid the customers complain. Our policy is, if you want to pay for gold stamping of your name and year, that can go on instead of our name. I won't put both on because it looks junky. Or my name goes on. If somebody says I don't want either on, I say I'm very sorry. That's my policy. Okay? If they complain, I've refunded money over the last 8 years to 2 people who claimed they didn't want it on. I said, fine, you know, these are your pictures. I want you to be totally happy. Here's a refund. And most of the time they go, because they want those portraits. Okay? I'm interested in making money, folks, but I'm not a whore. Okay? I've got rules that I live by too. And that's one of them. I run my studio. I don't let it run me. And if you don't have the confidence in yourself to stand up there to some of these customers, they're going to walk on you. You're not going to have any respect. You know, I need their business, but I don't need every single customer that comes in. This is what the Attention Studio sticker looks like. It says, return originals to. And they know we can write in what originals have to come back. One goes on their order, and then one goes on the lab bag. So if the person puts the order together, can make sure it all gets handled. When I do a prom, I put a coupon in that gives them 15 additional wallets free. This brings me a lot of sessions. Kids like these wallets. I just made this up on my computer. That's in the packet. One of my spring or my super specials are in there, my last chance special coupons to get these kids are kind of hanging over. This is what my release form looks like. It has a spot for their appointment on it. We do everything by appointment. And if you come to my studio without an appointment to return your originals, come. We're busy. We've got people 6 deep sometimes in that reception room. And we aren't going to take you over somebody that has an appointment. Again, my studio is run by me. I don't let it run me. Customers just have to learn that, you know, you follow the rules. Now people say, well, gosh, that doesn't seem like you're being very nice to your customers. I'm being very nice to my customers. I'm being extremely nice to the ones who kept an appointment. Doesn't it make you mad when you have an appointment and you go someplace and somebody without an appointment gets in ahead of you? Boy, it ticks me off. This is a convenience for my customers, and I respect their time. Conversely, I want my time respected as well. On the back, we have pictures of the folios that we've drawn, and then we put the numbers of the pictures that are in the folios in them. Now, the guy that thought of this is a genius, and if you don't think so, just ask him. Because it makes it easy for the customers to find the pictures. They don't mark up the folios. If they do mark on the folios, without question, they have bought them. I have a couple of promotion cards here. I have my gallery display letter, which is a promotion we'll talk about a little bit later. I have a senior information sheet that I stole from Larry Peters. I made a couple of changes in it. They fill it out and it tells what kind of clothes they brought, what props they brought, so that we can find the kids if they get lost in the roll of film. Say the lab loses the information sheet or the log sheet that we had. It also lets us kind of double check to make sure we've caught everybody's yearbook picture. You know, when you're doing 100 or 200 seniors, folks, that's not much trouble. You do 600 or 700 between 2 studios, then somebody's really looking for them. I've got a little letter here that I use to get more copy and restoration business. And I have, beautifully laser printed, I might add. I have the 2% eye opener as you saw it on the screen, step by step. And I also have a worksheet. Now it says copyright Steve Bohne, CPP, but if you copy this worksheet to use for yourself, so you've got several of them, I won't prosecute you. You can take this and copy it, and you can take your year-end financial statement and work it for yourself and see what kind of difference it would make. Folks, I get phone calls all day long where people say, gosh, I got to talk to Steve. Quick, won't you put him on the phone? It's hard to talk to me on the phone because my help really screens my call. But they'll say, yeah, okay, and somebody will say, I just worked that 2% thing, and I'm going to increase my studio profit by $62,000 this year. And some of these studios, they'll actually do that, if they'll take all the steps. This thing right here is worth the $20 that you'll pay for the package. The wallet card in there is worth the $20 you'll pay for the package. I charge you $20 because I have more than $20 in time working on it. And I have to pay my help to go copy the stuff and put it together. So the next time I come down here and you pay me $5,000 for my seminar, I promise I'll hand the packets out free. But this time, they're $20. And they're worth every single nickel. If you don't think so, just ask me. I also have an Honest John Flap in here. Honest John Flap is an advertising term for the thing that you get in the mail. It says, please read this only if you decided not to take me up on this important offer. Okay? And don't forget, order by midnight tonight. And what it does is, when I send this gallery card, or this gallery letter, and somebody said, no, I'm not going to participate, this is great. It's in my own handwriting, so somebody knows it's kind of personalized. You have to struggle to read it, because I'm not a very good handwriter. It says, imagine the feeling of pride you'll have when a visitor to your home compliments you on your beautiful portrait, and to think you saved 50%. Sounds great, doesn't it? That's why I must admit I'm puzzled that you are not going to take me up on this offer. If you feel your portrait needs updating, don't let that stop you. I'll do a new session for you at half price. Just call and we'll take care of it. Call 787-2788 and ask to speak to Susan or Shaw. Thanks, Steve Bohne, CPP, and yes, you can use your Visa or MasterCard. I actually have people that call me and say, okay, I'll take you up on it. They've read this and it makes them mad. I got that idea from a guy called Charlie Clark in Ohio. And I use it wherever I can because it's awful colorful. So anyway, that's the packet that I'm going to attempt to sell you for the low price of $20 if you respond by midnight tonight. If you will fill out the speaker review forms at the end of the session, I know some of you guys have already filled them out, you haven't even heard the whole thing, but I've got something I'll give you a worksheet on good, better, best finishes, which we're going to go over here. Tells you how to set them up. It'll give you some tapes and seminars I feel you should see. And on the back of some of them, it also has where I buy some of my backgrounds and some of my suppliers. You can't buy those, they're absolutely free, only if you fill out the speaker review form. So, are we having fun yet?
Yes.
All right. Now, I'll pass around this thing too. At proms, I had this girl that works for me. She's worked for me since she's a sophomore in high school. And she's been just one of the best employees you could have. She treats the place like it was her own. She's a damn good employee. And she's dedicated and loyal. And when she came to work over Christmas break, she's attending MSU. Fly, God alone. Why she didn't go to U of M, I don't know. But she says, you know, I see these key ring things advertised in these magazines, and you should do that. I said, malarkey. She says, no, really, people eat these things up at Cedar Point. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and she says, now you do it. And she says, if you don't, you won't be able to sleep tonight. And I'll be damned. I couldn't, so I ordered them. It was an investment, an initial investment, about $500, including the die cutter, which they were out of, and they've got my money for and haven't sent me yet. And the first prom I took them to, I didn't even have a sample. I cut out a codolith of my logo and put in there, because that's all I had. And I sold 3 of them. Well, then when the pictures come back, I copy them on tungsten slide film, Ectochrome, take them to a 1-hour lab that processes them in an hour. These things cost me about 42 cents to make, right around there. They're stamped with my name, so everybody gets to see them, know who puts it out. Since I'm projecting most of my prom backgrounds, that's why I copy them, okay? And they look great, they look fine. I'll pass it around, test it, okay, it looks fine. And I sell these, how much does a pizza sell for here, about 10 bucks? I sell these for about half a pizza, okay? So, isn't that sneaky? Or we sell them 2 for almost a pizza. We give them a little discount, see? And at the last prom I did, I had a prom that had 52 attendees. I photographed 48 of them, and we took in $1,300 on 48 attendees. Now, folks, there's somebody here that might be getting more than that per person at a prom, and if you are, stand up. And then we'll see how much you really are lying to me. No, but I told you that I'd show you pictures. I lied. No, I'm going to show you some pictures. I do have 22. Okay, we're at 22. I hate these 140 capacity frames. I do have a copy of our book that the photographers in Michigan did for our 150th birthday, or the sesquicentennial. Can you all say that? Sesquicentennial? I knew you could. Okay? What it is one photographer there just started brainstorming with another photographer and said, gee, wouldn't it be great if we did a day in the life of Michigan? Well, that's what we were going to call it, but unfortunately, the people that did that copyrighted the title. So we had to call ours Sesquicentennial Portrait or some such thing. And so it's a nice book. If you get a minute and you're interested, look at it. I, of course, do have some prints in there. It was 30 certified photographers. Oh, we shut the lights off, huh? They can't look at the dirty picture and the key ring. They can look later. Okay, here's some portrait styles and backgrounds. Traditional. Now, this is your typical rim-lit profile. Everybody sends to an artist, gets it worked up. I certainly did, and you get a print merit from it. And sometimes we'll do the loop-lit face, which is nice. I mean, that can be sold. And something a little sexier where she wears a little lower cut neckline. A very nice portrait that could be sold. But sometimes your adult customers want something a little bit different too. Now, would this hang in print competition? Possibly. Might be able to make it a merit print with some artwork. But it's kind of busy down here, kind of shy down. Take a lot of art. I think you could get something a little bit better. But I'm going to tell you, I know for a fact this will sell to your client because it's different. It's kind of Hollywood. Now, we do the traditional seniors just like everybody else, painted background. Now, these slides aren't retouched, and folks, I pulled them off the line. I am not going to take a couple of great-looking models, photograph the hell out of them, and then show you retouched, stunning slides, because I don't believe in it. That's what just about every speaker on the platform does, and I don't think it's right. I'm going to show you my everyday work, and that's what you get to see. I'm not trying to show you how great a photographer I am, or how bad of a photographer I am. It's just to maybe show you in relationship and give you some ideas. We usually wouldn't let, somebody this puppy go out of the studio, but this is what it looks like before we add that $10,000 worth of artwork that the other speakers are putting on to try to make them look good, to BS you about how fantastic of a photographer they are. Okay? Good face, probably a merit face. We'll probably use her for a print competition a little bit later this year. That's a Lorraine Charles background. What's so funny?
Volcanic hair.
Volcanic hair? Come on, that's great hair. High hair. Like my son when he was real little saw Dolly Parton, and he said to my wife, "Ooh, that's Dolly Parton. She's got big hair." And my wife said, "Oh." This is probably one of my biggest selling poses. We still do doubles. People are still buying them. As long as they buy them, I'm going to sell them. The girls today want a little bit more business look, which 10 years ago we would have said this is kind of a masculine setup. Not today. Not today. Maybe for print competition. That's not a print exhibit print by any means. But most of your customers, these women are entering business and they want to look professional. Okay? That's one done by my photographer and Adrian. That's not my print. This is my print. Kind of wild hair, but still on the painted background. Now this was shot as a lens test with one of these Mamiya soft focus lenses. And I'm telling you, unless you're using them for 3/4 length or full length or boudoir, they're a crappy portrait lens. They're just too short. They make her nose look too big. It's just too short a lens. And that was shot on a 645 negative, which even helps the chances of it out. The perspective on that lens is just too short. It is nice soft focus, but it's not good for head and shoulders. Now this, on the other hand, we dropped in a Geppi slide mount. We took half of a Geppi slide mount, we put in the side that has the anti-Newton ring coating on it. And this seems to be well received by most customers. It doesn't look too soft, but it softens up a lot of the features. It's kind of a nice soft and they enjoy it. So we use that quite a bit. Now, here's the background that we call cracked ice. We buy it from places like Peoria Camera. And here it's a little overlit. Again, this is from my gal and Adrian. But sometimes you get people with clothing that there's just really not much you can do with a traditional background. And we are, from time to time, even selling traditional type poses. So you get kids that come in, they want the fun type poses. That's kind of a fun type background. Again, with a Geppi slide mount on there. This one's called Rainbow Cracked Ice. People are never in the middle on this background. They either really like it or they can't stand it. And I have it for the people that really like it. I'm not nuts about it. It doesn't turn me on, but I have people that want it because it's different. It's really good with little kids. And boy, you guys do a lot of kids. This is one that the parents just really eat up. The parents love this with kids. Because it's soft and pastel and looks nice, you know, it's kind of kid-type background. Here's one, when it's thrown out of focus, I like it a whole lot more. Okay? Again, it's a little overlit. My photographer, Adrian, she hasn't quite got down. This stuff is really pretty reflective. And I usually drop in like a neutral density filter on the background light when I do it. But some people like it when it's really wild like that. That's a little bit better. She's toned it down quite a bit there. Okay, here's what we call fabriques. It's just a fancy word for fabrics. Now this is a sequin sheet. I don't usually photograph it like this, but I photograph it to show you what it looks like before we throw it out of focus. This is one that we got from PSS. It's called Razzle Dazzle. You can shoot different colored gels on it and get some really interesting effects with it. Here again, a little overlit. My gal and Adrian's had a couple classes at Winona, but we gotta get her tune that background light down. This is one that I did, Gal and Jackson. There it's toned down quite a bit more. That's a nice picture, a little artwork. Hey, maybe weird green, but I mean, we can take pictures, I guess. This is one with patent vinyl on the floor, zebra fabric, hung off a pole. Very, very popular, especially with the amount of black and white that the kids are wearing. I'm selling a lot of these. There's one with leopard skin. She had a leopard skin shirt, and that's what we shot it with. I like her a whole lot better in soft focus. Okay. This is a metallic background that's been strung up. Metallic fabric, kind of silver and black. It's kind of porous, so you can shoot filters through the back of it or on the front of it. And we'll also drape this with other things. There it is, head and shoulders. Question?
It's her shirt.
What about it?
It's just,
Keeps moving.
yeah, it keeps moving on me. I was trying to figure out if this is video or still photograph.
Okay, this is a line of gold fabric, and unfortunately in the slide it really went contrast. It didn't look like that on the print, but when the slide came back it was pretty wild. I don't know why. But this again, we will use it for head and shoulders. Backed out of the way, it kind of goes out of focus and gives you a nice pattern. That can be had from Peoria Camera as well. And I'll have a source list up there for you a little bit. Now these are what we call computer graphics or front projection. Now right away everybody says, oh God, front projection. I'm here to tell you folks that I know what you think about front projection. You're thinking of this stuff right here, the outdoor shot. I don't do much with outdoor shots unless somebody requests it. The reason being is it's hard to make it look real. And I agree, okay? But what I do like it for is for some of the different things that I can do with the slides that I can make myself. That if I had to pay to have that background painted, it'd cost me a bundle. But I can shoot it myself for practically nothing on a super slide back from a Hasselblad or 35 millimeter, and the kids like it. Now here is a plain Jane, as ugly as can be, cheerleading uniform. Folks, I don't know who designed these, but it should be against the law for them to ever do it again. We can dress that uniform up with a front projected background. Not much of a cheerleader's uniform, but looks good with that background. Here's one with a grid. Now, I made this grid small because she wanted to put some kind of writing down here at the bottom of her finished print, and she didn't want the grid work to go through it. So I've left room to put like a border around it and then put something across here. I think she wants to put her name and that she was captain or some such thing on the print. There's the grid blown up full size. Again, the orange stripes. We use that for proms a lot. This is a burst. Now in Adrian, I don't have one of the black screens, and so the lighting gets kind of contrasty for my taste. You know, we're using one light and a reflector. But in Jackson, I have the black screen, and I use my lights just like I do without a front projector. Plus, this black screen is great to take on location. The black screen is finely mesh fiberglass, I think it is. That's what it feels like to me. And it goes out in front of your background screen about 6 inches, and it just stops the washout. I mean, it looks good. That's done just like every other portrait in my studio. This is stars, which is great for prom dresses and proms. Again, that's an Adrian, so the lighting ratio for me is a little deep. Although some people say, geez, it kind of looks like nighttime. I don't know. But I wish I had a black screen for down there. I just don't have one down there yet. There's the stars in Jackson. Again, I'm using my lights just normally. This is a graphic that when we were in Palm Springs, it was on a store window. I liked it and I photographed it. And people love this because it's different. And to me, I don't find that as chintzy, glitzy front projection. I kind of like that picture. Here's one that's a burst. Again, the colored lights used vertically. And this is a computer grid that I think we got from Henry Olds. I bought another guy's system. He gave it away, screen projector, and about 100 slides for $1,000. Okay. I can make a lot of backgrounds and use them for that. No black line is evident here. Anybody see black line on that print? Just not any black line. You know, black shoulder, yes, yeah, black jacket. Okay, the slit drape, I'm sure most of you are probably using here. We're shining colors on that slit drape, try to match their outfit. My photographer, Adrian, went to class at Winona, and the instructor there was big on tilting the camera. So now she's tilting the camera. She's really into that. That's what it looks like hung. We've taken this so we can show you about how tall the thing hangs. We've got stretched on a wire across the studio. And we can just slide it back and forth. They're kind of looped at the top, and we just slide it from one side to the other. This is one that Kristen experimented with smoke. I'm not sure that I like it. Just an idea for you. She blew smoke on and then shot it against the drape. I myself like the smoke against a darker contrasting background. The patent vinyl that you saw a little bit of can be, this will not work if you use parabolic reflectors. You have to have a softbox, a fairly broad form of light to make the reflections show up. Sometimes we pinch it in the middle with a clip, you know, a clamp, have them lean against it. We'll sit on it, and we'll hang it at an uneven camp so we get it to pucker up there. These are very popular, very popular. We have them in colors, yellow, pink. I think I've got a blue one. We'll use it with the 90. I leave it wrinkled on the bottom. People like it. I don't put a board down to make it perfectly flat. There's a pink one up close. Again, that's pretty popular. Girls are asking for that already. We'll have them lie down on the floor with that. Fans, if they have a Pier 1 imports here, which I'm sure they must, this is a pretty big city. We're using a lot of the fans. I don't have any where I show two in one picture, but sometimes we'll put 2 or 3 in. We can use them horizontally or we can use them vertically like this is here. This girl came to my studio from Chicago, Illinois. That's about a 5-hour drive one way. When I asked her, how come you came from Chicago? She says, nobody in Chicago takes pictures like you do. Now you can take that either way, I guess. But she thought they were good enough to drive from Chicago for. Again, sometimes in the slides, the lighting looks a little flat, and it looks a little contrasty sometimes, just the way the slide is made. I didn't copy them off of prints, probably should have. But now this shows one we've shown. A lot of people can't quite understand how you put these fans up. Okay, we've got a pole behind her, and up there you can see the clamp that we've used to hold it. Okay, when we do it vertically, we just flip the fan up, clip it, and then of course when we take their pictures we don't show it, right? Okay, if you hang two of them up, you just put them on light stands, clip them up, and you can have one low and one high in a picture, for example. These fans aren't very expensive, and it doesn't cost you much to get them. We also use the parasols. I don't have a lot of examples of that here, but we're buying parasols. We've got them that are all solid color. We'll flip them around the other way and try to match them to their outfits. Just, again, something different. We've got a background that, for lack of a better word, we call it slash. I work with a camera room assistant, and to make things quick, we'll pull backgrounds up and down. I'll say, okay, put down the slash background. And that's the slash background. This is one, if you call the Denny company, tell them you want a 9610 like Larry Peters have, they'll make this for you. This background is actually gray, but you can blow filters on it, and since it's gray, it picks up whatever color filter you put on. That's what it is without any filter on it. This, again, is going to be a very popular background already. Another one is laser. I kind of hesitated on this background because the school photographers were using it. But I went ahead and got it, and again, it's popular. People are buying it. None of my competitors have it. I've got it. Now, if you'll notice here, this has got kind of pink and blue rays running through it. You can shine a filter on it, and there it is close up. I think I kind of like it close up better than when it's really in focus. You can shine a filter on it, and it'll pick up the rays of, of the red filter. And I've got a very small, I've got like a Norman 202 unit, and the head's kind of small. Tony Licata, a friend of mine that puts on seminars, he lives around Detroit. He uses a much wider reflector on his background light, and it really goes much more red or what have you. Here's one we use called MTV. I'm sorry, I don't have any cityscapes to show you. Those have gotten really popular. I had a Silver Cord Award in Michigan with one of my cityscapes this year. I had 2 cityscapes in there, and they're probably there wasn't another print like them in the show. And in fact, when they were all done with the judging, there was a judge from Indiana that's a master. I won't tell you her name because you know her right away. But she said if we had to have your prints in our print competition in Indiana, she says our photographer of the year wouldn't have made the top 10 here. I'll tell you, folks, when it comes to photography, not because I'm from Michigan, but that Ohio convention, that Ohio regional, there's some top shooters there. California, Wisconsin, Ohio, New York regionals, Wisconsin especially, they got some great photographers there. Sometimes it'll really pay you, I think, if you're interested in a print competition or just to see what's new, to try to make some of those conventions where the heavy shooters are. You'll really pick. I'll tell you, I'm glad I don't belong to Ohio State organization because my ego gets crushed enough as it is without going to that print competition. And I hung all my prints there, and I got a couple of blues. But, man, I think this year it took about 380-some points, and the guy was the photographer of the year. That's a heck of a score. There's 400 possible. You only have 20 points knocked off. You're doing some shooting. This little grid thing here, I've been using that for about a year, and then it shows up on a rangefinder cover, okay? Now, I didn't show it to anybody, but it just shows you that you're not always the only one with an idea. This guy just happened to send it in the magazine, they printed it. That's the black patent vinyl background again. We'll hang it at different lengths, or sometimes we'll have them stand in front of it fully. Sometimes we won't use the patent vinyl, we'll just use plain black. We'll sometimes put the chrome foil behind it, a lot of different ways. You can shoot colors on it. If you shoot the color sideways, then the grid picks up the color all up and down the grid. This is the smoke. We're using a Burgess outdoor fogger, the non-propane version. It's electric, you plug it in. We're using the fluid from a place called Rocktronics, and they're in Massachusetts. And we find that's less oily and isn't as stinky as the stuff from Roscoe. Although when I was in Cleveland, a guy there turned me on to a new machine, or not new, but new to me, called a Mr. Mista. And they sell them for DJs to use. And they sell for about $400 or half the price of a Roscoe machine. And their nice feature about them is they use a mixture of water and glycerin for the fog. So that means if you have an asthmatic customer, it's not going to cause problems. Do not use this smoke around somebody that has asthma, especially the Roscoe stuff. This I think you could get away with. We do shine filters on the smoke. This is a girl again that came from Chicago. Also, we've got a brick panel. We've cut the fill light way back so the separation is heavier. This has been a very popular portrait for us. People come in and ask for it. I even have adults ask for this. They'll come in blue jean outfits and get one of these for themselves. Metallic foil is another one. The Pierce Company sells this. Comes in a range of colors, all kinds of colors. We'll use it straight. I'll crush it up and put it on a board. This is the chrome foil. We'll have them stand on this. We'll have them lay on it. We'll drape other fabrics over it. This is a textured foil that we got from Studio Specialties in Chicago. Comes in red, comes in blue, comes in probably every color under the rainbow, etc. These are just some things. Okay, now behind the billboards you saw earlier, this is what's behind the billboard next to my studio. If you look carefully back there through the brush, there's a house back there. I'm in the city limits. And this is what I've got next to me. People trailer up their horses, their ATVs. That's finally the portrait she bought. That's the one she wanted. Shoot people with their doggies. That's pretty popular with us still. That dog looks like something you should dust the house with. White background, white ladder, comes and goes. Some years the kids look at it and say, God, it looks really plain, I don't like it. And then next year they'll say, geez, well, how come you don't do that white background thing anymore? Cheerleaders, again, with the smoke and their megaphones, will be double exposures with the cheerleader inside the megaphone. If you don't like the all-white, or you're getting complaints from customers that they don't like the all-white, but they want a white background, this is rice paper. You can do a lot of things with it. You can put it at a tilt, so it goes in that fashion. You can pull up one side, and the other side will kind of curve out like a fan. You can put colors on it, and that's been a pretty popular background as well. There, the color doesn't show up very good in the slide, unfortunately, but it's the same color as her dress. Stuffed animals are big. I don't know if you guys get much of the stuffed animal thing, but I had one girl brought in 120 of these little bears. Floor pillows we're using quite a bit of. The wicker chair, unfortunately, is still popular. We moved to a wicker chase because we like that a little bit better. We use these money trees, and we'll shine filters on them. That's a Roman shade. This is a piece of lattice like you buy at a lumber yard. We've got a diffusion material that's over it, and it spreads out the light so we can put filters on it and have it show through the lattice. This is a piece of bubble plastic, it's called. Again, we got that from Studio Specialties. This is silver blinds on a tilt, like the mini blinds. Very popular background. This paper we got from a company called Studio Specialties, but they're in Appleton, Wisconsin. And they have this grid paper in all kinds of colors. We get it, try to get it in school colors, and it's great for sports pictures as well. This is some of the sources. Use your own slides. Fabric stores, I hang out at the fabric stores a lot. My son won't go in with me because he says, hey, come on, people think you're funny, go into a fabric store. Tier 1 imports for rice paper fans and parasols. Houston Importers in Houston, Texas. You can get the sequin material from them. Just call information, they'll give you a number. Ask them for their catalog, but ask them to send you the fabric samples. If you don't, they send you some stupid catalog with Santa Clauses in it. Denny Company is where we got the laser and the slash backgrounds. PSS there in Wisconsin, I'm sure everybody knows about them. They sell the foils, they sell the razzle-dazzle, they have gold lame. Ask them for information on their senior background package. Edmund Scientific has a lot of old foils and kind of graphic things. They also have the filters. Olson's of Hollywood has some very unusual things. They're a supply store for theaters and little summer stock houses. Peoria Camera, again, I think most people know about them, but if you don't, you can call information in Peoria, Illinois. They sell a background book called The Excitement of Backgrounds or some such thing. They got 3 or 4 of them. Sell for about $30 a piece. Studio Specialties, I don't know their new phone number. They moved just a few months ago, so you have to call information. And Fashion is a gal in Turpin, Oklahoma, that she's into designing, and she's got some sources for fabric, furs, fake furs for fur coats, a lot of weird things. That slide's not real good. It looks like it got overdeveloped. It's Fashion. Her name is Peggy Ann Combs. It's Route 1, Box 12. Probably got box 12 or box 20 in that time. Turpin, Oklahoma, 73950. And that's it for the actual photography part of it. How are we doing timeline? Oh, gee, we're just running right along. Any questions so far, or am I doing such a great job explaining this? You don't have any questions? It's very intelligent. We gotta go back and do it, okay. We want to get to improving our customer relations. We want to take care of our customers because studies show that it costs us $12.80 to get a new client. This is an old study, okay? Somebody told me they're figuring it's more like about $20 today. But this was the only factual report I had, and I wasn't willing to change it. Or would you rather spend $1.20 to keep a client you got already? Studies show that that's really all it takes, is $1.20. A little thank you card, a little reminder, a little gift. I'd rather spend $1.20. You have to learn the principle of relationships. And all that is that today people buy relationships. They don't buy products. They want a relationship with you. Understand that you're not going to please everybody. I certainly don't. But I don't worry about it. My father told me a long time ago, he says, Steve, I don't know the secret to success, but he says, I can certainly tell you how to fail. And that's try to please every single person. Understand fully the aura of influence, which says, if you make your customers happy, then they're going to radiate those feelings to the people they know. If you don't make them happy, they're going to radiate those feelings to the people they know. I'll tell you a little story. When I came into Omaha, there was a man sitting at the gate there, and I came out and I said, how will I find the people in Omaha anyway? He said, what were they like in Jackson, Michigan? I said, they're really a pretty friendly bunch, and I like them. He says, you know, I think you're going to find them the same way in Omaha. Well, I'd only gotten a few steps away, and the guy behind me said, how will I find the people in Omaha? And this old guy says, what were they like where you came from? He said, they were rotten scum, and they try to steal you blind, and they kill their mother for a beer. He said, you're going to find them pretty much the same way in Omaha. If I can get my voice back. Which says, basically, the way you think people are going to be is the way people will be to you. It's your attitude that really decides how people treat you. So if you expect the best, you're going to get it. The old saying, be careful what you wish for because you're liable to get it, holds true. Teach your staff how to handle complaints. I don't like to handle complaints. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I have a very short temper. And I'm most likely to tell somebody to get the hell out and not come back. And that's why I hire people that do that job for me, and I don't have to deal with it. Okay? I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know, if Henry Ford, you know, wasn't an intelligent man by any sense when it comes to book learning. In fact, he had a big case that he sued a newspaper for somebody called him an ignorant pacifist. And the attorney put him on the stand and asked him, when did Columbus discover America? And when was Rutherford Hayes elected president? He couldn't answer any of these things. And after one very insulting question, he stood up and said, sir, he said, I do not have the answers to those questions, but on my desk I have a row of push buttons. And I push these push buttons, and at my beck and call is a staff of people who can give you the answers to those questions and many more. He says, my mind is used for thinking, not for cluttering up with useless information. Mr. Ford won his suit, okay? He showed that while he might not have memorized a lot of facts and figures, he knew how to think and how to get information. If you can't do it yourself, hire somebody to do it. Behind every objection is an interest. And that's because people complain only about valued relationships. When they come to Claire, which I'm sure they never do, okay, because Holly's already told me he's the nicest guy in this organization. But when somebody comes to him and says, Claire, you know, I'm really not happy with this 8x10, and I'd like you to do something about it. I'm sure that Claire doesn't say, P.S., get the hell out. He takes care of it, because that customer is saying, in effect, I value our relationship, and I want to continue it. So that's what they're saying to you. Welcome objections, because this person's saying, I want to continue doing business with you. If you've got a bad attitude, you say, this person's a pain in the butt. That's the wrong attitude. How come customers quit doing business with us? 1% die and 3% move away, and folks, there's nothing, no matter how good a photographer you are, you're not going to get those customers back, I'm sorry. 5% develop other friendships. They join the Kiwanis. Maybe a guy in the Kiwanis Club is selling insurance, so he buys his insurance there. 9% due to competitive reasons. 14% due to product quality or dissatisfaction. 68% because you just don't care about it, or an employee showed indifference to them. Now 68%, that you can fix if you're willing. A study showed recently that if you screw up with a customer, that 60% of them will do business with you again, even if you make an effort to correct the problem. Notice I didn't say correct the problem. Even if you make an effort and you don't fix it, they'll still come back and do business with you, because you gave it a shot. The customer survey, that's priceless. If you don't do one thing today, buy this packet, go home on Monday, copy it just like it is if you want to, I don't care, and start using it. I might have to change one or two things because I think I saved my portrait galleries in there, but you'll find good feedback on your studio. For every complaint I get, folks, I get 50 glowing reports. People think we're just the greatest things on sliced bread. It lets you ask the golden questions: how are we doing? What can we do to make it better? And if I screwed up, how can I fix it? And we have people telephone call for a special, and we ask them, were there any problems with your order? And if there's a problem, we'll take care of it. And if I have to, I'll call them personally and beg their forgiveness. I'm not very good at eating crow. I'm not a very humble person, but if it's with a customer and if I have to do it, I'll do it because I understand how important it is. Profit power of good, better, best. Now this made more money for me in my studio from the time I instituted it. I was sure it would be good. Now, people say, why sell finishes in the first place? Guy just wrote in the PPGO magazine, a fellow Michiganian, said, my father told me a craftsman only sells his best. Maybe I'm not a craftsman. I'm a merchandiser. I'm going to sell what sells. Okay? When presented with 3 to 4 choices, human nature selects the middle choice. And have you ever seen these doofy cards that are out? It says, pick a number and it says 1, 2, 3, or 4, and on the back it says all perverts pick number 3, or all sex maniacs pick number 3. It plays on the same thing, that it's human nature to pick the middle of the road. People almost always will pick 3 out of 4 numbers. Sears and Roebuck spent millions to research this concept. Now, they won't say how much they spent, but one industry analyst I read in a magazine estimates it in the billions, not the millions, the billions of dollars they spent to research, refine, tweak this baby to make it work good. And studies show that Americans are familiar with this method, and they like to use it. How many people remember silver tone, gold tone, light color? I don't. That was before me in the business, but I found it in an old price list at Fields. Silver tone, black and white print, gold tone, sepia print, light color, and tinted print. Biggest and best reason though is profits. We're going to assume that the profit on the sale of 2,000 prints a year is $20,000 or $10 a print. Remember, for the tape, this is not a retail price, so under PPGO guidelines, we can use this explanation. After implementing finishes, we're going to assume we still sell 2,000 prints, but we're going to sell them like this. We're going to sell 200 of our economy finish prints at $10 profit, gives us $2,000. We're going to sell 1,100 of our standard finish, gives us $13,200. So we have a $12 profit on those. And our deluxe finish print, 700 at $15, $10,500. Now, if you compare that, we made another $5,700. You didn't do any more sessions. Lab cost didn't increase substantially. Your overhead didn't go up at all. But you got 27% more profit, or $5,700. And I see a show of hands here who'd be interested in another $5,700 this year. Just about everybody. Good. My economy finish is net surface print. I don't put it in a mount. It goes in a master photo case, and those come from TAP. Put it in a cream ebony easel. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they fold over to enclose the print, and my logo is stamped on the outside, so when it's delivered, that Bohne is standing out there loud, proud, and bold in gold. Then it folds over and is not shown in the present display. Retouching is available in wall, stuff in a plastic box. Now my finishes are not displayed on the wall, they're displayed in an album in the studio, where I also show retouched and unretouched samples. Now I carry it over to sessions, so I offer different sessions. Basic is simple head and shoulders. Deluxe, we'll do some 3/4 lengths. Celebrity is kind of a more extensive thing with more backgrounds. The boss is 7 outfit changes. We do about 30 poses, and they pay me a good bunch of money for that. I extended the concepts to weddings. I have 3 different finishes for my wedding prints. I have a shiny print, which is all fingerprinted in my little sample book, to show them how it'll be fingerprinted if they get this. And for just $1 more or so, they can have my better finish, which is E-surface. Now, the cost difference from the lab, I think, is gee, I guess it's not any difference. Imagine that. Now I've changed it and I used it with copy and restorations. Yes, you know, how many people here do their own copies? Let's see a few hands. Did you ever get tired of people bringing in these sub-wallet size pictures that were out of focus and trying to make a print out? And I decided, hey, it's not fair they pay the same price as somebody brings me a pristine print in 8 by 10. So you can get my economy finished print, which I promote. That's my least expensive if it's larger than 3 by 5, and if it's not faded, and if it's in good focus. Now, if you don't qualify under any of those, you got to bump up to the standard. Now, the standard, it can be a little faded. But if it's smaller than 3 by 5, or it's out of focus, you got to get deluxe. Now, those people that do their own printing, how much more is Luster Lux paper than glossy? No money, is it? How much more is matte paper than Luster Lux? No difference, is there? The difference is the profit that goes into your pocket. Plus, there's a little extra service in each one. Then sepia is the deluxe print, but sepia tone goes for about half again as much. Next thing, I think that studios must become a serious student of advertising, or at least somebody in your organization. Television's too expensive for most of us, but with cable, we can target some of these markets like seniors. MTV locally is usually pretty inexpensive, even here in Omaha. In Lansing, I think you only get like $18 for a 30-second commercial. Radio can be good, but it has to be kind of repetitive and extensive to really work. But a good way to go is something that we did when we opened in Adrian. I didn't have a lot of money budgeted for advertising, but I wanted to get my name out in a hurry. So we said, here's a name that's hard to spell, easy to say, Bohne. That's Bohne Portrait Gallery. It's located at Southland Plaza, Adrian, Michigan. Adrian's finest, Adrian's newest portrait photographer. And they were all live, and we actually had people calling us saying, well, that's not hard to spell. Folks, if they're doing that, they're listening to that ad. I ran about 300 of those in a week's time. It was real cheap. I mean, I think it cost me about, I don't think it was much more than $400. It was super cheap. And by the end of that week, those 4 announcers, I felt bad for them. Because on Friday, I heard one guy say, here's the name that's hard to spell, easy to say, Bohne. And I know he's thinking, when are these things going to quit? My God, I'm going crazy with these things. Newspaper. I do well with newspaper. Realize an ad runs 13 times before the public takes notice. To establish your studio, run an ad every week, once a week. Don't quit, don't stop. Now, people say, but this Omaha paper cost me a lot of money. I realize that, okay? Use publications that target neighborhoods in Omaha. They're much cheaper. Like Detroit has the Oakland Press, and it's got the Macomb Times, and you know, but people think, gosh, they can only advertise in Detroit News and Detroit Free Press. Forget those. Advertise in segmented market publications. The cost is much more reasonable. Remember that effective promotions run on a campaign basis, and by that I mean when I run my copy and restoration stuff, I'll run a big ad, I'll wait a week, a couple of small ads. If the ad's pulling well and I want to keep doing it, I run a banner on it that says final week. If it's not pulling, I'll say by popular demand, 2 more weeks. So it gives the public a perception that, hey, people are doing this, I better get in on it. These are ads that run good for me in the newspaper. Senior Spotlight, which we'll talk about in a second. Copy and restoration always does well. Passport photos. My Valentine promotion is a 5x7, 4 wallets, and a little leatherette folder. And I don't know, we get about 3 pizzas for that, but it's a loss leader to bring them in, sell them extra prints. And any Christmas promotion almost always says good in the paper if you do it correctly. And that is, get it advertised before the rush, and then as you get closer to Christmas, the price jumps. On these customer questionnaires that we get back, oh, that slides in backwards. God, how embarrassing. These spilled out. When I was in Cleveland, they all spilled out, and that one didn't get put back right. But what these have here is the kid's name, their high school. They tell us on these questionnaires what they want to do after they graduate, what their hobbies are, and we write these up. And it's been a great public relations thing for us. And the kicker is at the very end, the last paragraph, like this one says, no, it says thank you. I can't even read it, my God. Anyway, it has something on there. It says, I came to Bohne because they were the best and they know how to put slides in correctly. I'm going to try to switch that one.
I'll put it upside down, do mine.
You could just turn the screen around.
That's right. Or we could all just hold a mirror up.
You could have brought some of those mirrors.
Put that ring back on though for me, because they'll pop out like a real ball thing. I came to Bohne Portrait Gallery because it was recommended by my friends, and their pictures were very good. My sitting turned out to be excellent, and I recommend you to others. This girl says, Molly chose Bohne Portrait Gallery because she liked the senior portraits she's seen previous years. The poses were just what I wanted. I loved the backgrounds. I asked for 2 special poses, and I got them with no problem. Well, she wanted me to do a better sitting at the price of the old sitting. It wasn't a problem. I did it anyway. Molly said the poses she received were far better than ones her friends did from other studios. She'd recommend that other seniors use Bohne too. I'm glad I chose Bohne. I'm pleased with my senior pictures. And this kind of goes on. The last paragraph of these things are always a direct quote. And I have people, when I get them in the camera room, I say, How come you came to me? I get a lot of people say, Senior Spotlight convinced me. This is a great program to start. Direct mail is still the best weapon for most photographers. You want to be aware of postal regulations. They've changed. If you ask for address correction, it has to be done in a certain way. You want to compile an accurate list. You got to mail at least twice a year, because if you don't, your list doesn't get cleaned. You have to mail twice a year and ask for address correction. Match the offer to the list. Sometimes I have people ask me, well, I come to their studio and do a studio consultation. That's really not my thing, okay? But if somebody's hurting and he's in my state, I'll go. Okay, I don't feel qualified really to give studio consultation. That's not my business. There's a guy around who does a heck of a lot better than I do. But amazingly, folks, people are mailing wedding offers to baby clients, and it's just stupid. You know, most of us, I hope, have the common sense to match the offer to the list for you. Identify your high-profit potential clients, and you want to mail to them frequently with things like home portrait offers. Timing's important. You want to keep in mind that the post office can hold that bulk mail for 3 days. How do you know if they're going to hold it? Ask the guy you give it to. Most of the time he'll tell you. Never mail on a Thursday or Friday, because it gets there Saturday and Monday, and those days are the less read mail days. Best results if you can get your mail to arrive Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Now, a telephone follow-up will increase your results. A reminder mailing 2 weeks later will increase your results. You call before you send the piece, you mail it, and then call after they get the piece, you get the best results. Call them up, and your employee says, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Bohne just wanted to let you know that we've got something coming to you in the mail. We'd like to make sure you watch for it, and if you don't get it, give us a call. We don't tell them it's an ad. Here's some promotions that are worth their weight in gold. Gallery display letter. This letter says, I've decided to renew my samples. I've gone through my files and show some very nice portraits. I picked your session as one of the ones we could use. Tell you what, buy any portrait 11 by 14 larger at half price. I'll display it for 30 days, and then it's yours, and you're paying me in advance. Copy and restoration special. Just a 4x5 as-is copy for a price. Senior reorder special is excellent. We do great with that. Passport special, Valentine offer, and our spring special is an 8x10, 2 5x7s for X dollars. Promotions are always in my less expensive finish. My sliding senior specials go with the premise, the earlier you come, the better the deal. May and June, you get a free session. July, you get 2-for-1 wallet special. August, 48 wallets free when you buy 48. September is 24 wallets free, and the Rotten Picture Reward. Rotten Picture Reward says, if you didn't like the pictures you've had taken already, come to me, bring the receipt, I'll give you your session at half price, plus I'll give you 10% in product of whatever you paid at the other photographer. In product. October, half price session. November, December is the last chance special, where we say, here's an 8x10, 2 5x7s for a ridiculously low price. The catch is you have to come between 10 and 2 to get that special. If you come after 2 o'clock, it's higher. Because after school's in, our afternoons are always full and our mornings sometimes are empty. January, I send their family special coupon where they get a free 5x4 original because they chose me as their senior photographer. But with any portrait order, I'll exchange that 4x5 for an 8x10. March, we run our senior reorder special. We usually start our senior spotlights about April and May, and we send out our cap and gown special. Usually an 8x10, 2 5x7s in the session for some ridiculously low price, probably half our regular price. Now, I want to make sure that you implement the team concept. Instead of having these individual employees, make them feel like they're part of the team. Everybody contributes to the success and they deserve to share it. Get rid of commissions. We talked about that already. My goals are set quarterly, so if they miss one quarter, they know how much they got to do to make it up the next quarter. If they meet our basic goal, they get 5% of their base pay. If they meet the super goal, they get 10% of their base pay. The outstanding, they get 30% of their base pay. Sometimes we'll have travel incentives as well in that. Here's some little motivators that some of them I picked up on tapes and books, and one I just dreamt up myself. But let's motivate them. Jump for cash. Hang 3 $20 bills from the ceiling. Staff comes in, they look at them up there and say, what are those for? And after you've done this a couple times, they know what this is for. So they tell you what, the first 3 $500 orders today, for each $500 order, you get to jump up there and snatch one of those 20s. Now, folks, they just can't get up there and get them. They gotta jump. They gotta jump to get them. And I guarantee you will easily have your 3 $500 orders on that day. Let's play darts. For every $300 order, every $500 order that a person gets during the week, you decide what the amount is, they earn a dart. And at the end of the week, like on Saturday, we close the studio after our last appointment. They call in, bring in pizza and pop, whatever. We have balloons on a board. Some of them have $20 bills. One of them has a $100 bill. Some of them have 1, some of them have 5, some of them have 10. A couple of them have certificates for dinner at 2 at Jackson's Finest Restaurant. They play darts. Whatever they get to keep. Okay? And let's travel. This year, the Lyle Ramsey Convention's in Puerto Rico. I reserved 4 rooms. 1 for my wife and I, 1 for my children, and the other 2 are up for grabs. Convince me why you should get to go, and show me in sales. Hire consultants for a fraction of their normal fee. This is really kind of sneaky. I use Lyle Ramsey. His hourly fee with Kodak is about $300 an hour when he consults for him. I get to have him for $168 a month. There is a restriction on this by market area, so I can't guarantee that your market area is open. But I do it for the print competition, which they discontinued, but I'm going to convince them to restart again with Polly and a few other people. Consultation, I get a 2% prop and 5% volume discount. This year my check came to almost $3,000 for my volume discount. Seminars we have without price restrictions because he thinks that's a bunch of crap. That's about as antitrust as I don't know what. We still have free speech in America, folks. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. No law can restrict our free speech. Personal consultation. Seminars. I recommend you see Gary Gentoff. I don't know that he's putting any on right now, but even if he's 200 miles away, it's worth the money to go see this guy. He's fantastic. Frank Cricchio is a good one if you're interested in the print exhibit type of stuff. Charlie Clark or Larry Peters are both in Ohio, and they're pretty good marketers, and they can show you some new backgrounds, some new posing ideas. National seminars can give you seminars on time management, how to manage people, how to improve customer service, and seminars on tape, like from Nightingale Conant, which those are excellent. They have a money-back guarantee if you're not happy with them, but I drive a lot, and I plug these tapes in, and they're my little slaves, and they tell me what to do. You can get the equivalent of a college education in a car. And I'm putting these things in on customer service, telephoning, time management, all kinds of things. They're very inexpensive. Most of the tapes run in the $49 to $99 range for a series of between 6 and 12. One of them I just got, I'm dying to hear how to become a debt-free millionaire. That turns me on, I'm interested. And I am going to show you, by the way, how to become a millionaire here pretty soon. Learn advanced business techniques. The law of the slight edge says that you don't have to be 10 times greater than your competition to win. Just slightly better, slightly smarter, slightly faster, work slightly harder. The Pareto principle says 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Concentrate on that 20%. Don't forget the others, but concentrate on that 20%. Make sure they come back as often as you can get them, and make sure they talk to their friends, because their friends are going to become your customers. And insist that your bank pay to have your business. This is a statement from my accountant. Now, my bank service charge was $11, but if you look up there, we had $157.02 in interest. Many banks are not paying interest on business accounts, and if your bank isn't, I only recommend to you that you find a new bank. I get several $100s. That's a fairly low amount for me, $157 in interest. I get a couple of $1,000s every year because I found a bank that would pay me interest on my checking account. And they didn't load up a bunch of crap in there with like having to pay 50 cents for every night deposit and 10 cents for every non-security savings bank check they took, and all that malarkey. That's a ripoff. You know, shop around for a bank and find a good one. Effective use of the computer. I believe you should not buy photographer software. This stuff that these other guys are selling. I haven't really seen anything yet that I like. Closest one was Lyle Ramsey's, so I bought it. Now, I'm not going to recommend you buy it. It cost me about $15,000 to get into it. But I had the money, and it worked with my system, and I had to upgrade. So for me, it was a good buy. I can't say for you it's good. You'd have to look at it and look at your own situation. It's a multi-user system, includes the software, the printers, the terminals. I mean, we've got a pretty extensive system. But there's a lot of photographers selling software, and I haven't seen anything yet that I really like. The biggest loser was this Burrell system, which they just about discontinued. That was sorry. What you want to do is buy a word processor, a database, desktop publishing, something that's integrated. Now, I happen to like PFS software. They make a package called Professional Write, Professional File, and First Publisher. I made my title slides with the First Publisher desktop publishing program. We raise our employees' pay one time a year. One time, that's in December. Why December? Because they're feeling good. And I want to keep them feeling good. I discuss why I'm raising their pay or why I'm not raising their pay. I always permit discussion. If an employee wants to convince me why they should get paid more, I'm open to discussion. And I'm flexible and I'm fair. I made a lot of money last year, and I believe in sharing. Okay, this is worth the trip. I don't care if you came 100 miles, I'm going to show you now how to become a millionaire, depending what age you start at. Ridiculously simple retirement plan on how to fund your children's college education painlessly. I have my children's college education paid for. They can attend any state college in the state of Michigan, and their tuition is paid for from the day they enter to the day they end. I've got my kids taken care of. Everybody here sell folios? Everybody? Yep. Okay. We're going to take the money we get from our folios. We're going to deduct the folio cost. We're going to add 15% because some money has to go back to the business. And the remainder we're going to put in a retirement fund. And we're going to place this money in a hold account. Now, for those of you not familiar with hold accounts, they go into the bank, and I don't care if you go in there and beg and say, but my wife is dying and she has to have an operation, and I've got to have this money. Bank says, she's gone. They keep the money. You cannot get it for any reason. That's why they call it a hold account. Now, if you don't trust yourself to do this, have an employee or your accountant or whoever does your books, have them take that money right off the top every day and place it in this hold account. Now we're going to play a game. Let's assume we photograph 1,000 sessions every year. And let's assume that we sell folios to 20% of our customers at a profit of $40 a folio. Now folks, I do more than 1,000, I sell more than 20%, and I make more than $40 a folio. But I want to make this conservative so that you see what can be done. 200, 40 bucks, that's 8,000 a year. Now I've already showed you where to make the extra 8,000 bucks. You shouldn't have any trouble with this. People sometimes say to me, well, I'm living on that 8,000. I've already showed you how to increase, so you're going to have an extra 8,000 to put aside. If you don't go out there and blow it on stupid stuff, like food, clothing. Okay, now we're going to invest this money at 10% interest until the age 65. Now, if you started at age 60, you'd have $52,187. Not a lot, but you didn't start till age 60. At age 55, you end up with $131,267. You start at age 50, it almost doubles to $254,157. At age 45, you end up with $443,239. If you start at age 40, you get $734,164. If you start at age 35, you end up with $1,171,626. And where's Mark? Do I by that dummy. I told him how he's gonna end up with almost $2 million. Because if you start at age 30, you end up with $1,854,878. Well, almost that much. Because I actually figured this at 9% straight interest for those people that invested in something that had a fee that went with it every year, like an IRA or something like that. Chances are you're gonna end up with a lot more money than that. When prosperity comes, do not use all of it. Wise man said that. You have to start now. Any questions?
I'd like to have you go back and talk about, you're talking about putting money, costs on your bag. Well, you and I know that our bags come back with some money or.
The lab cost on it.
Yeah, but when you're figuring total cost, Steve, are you throwing in how many originals in the film that was shot on this thing?
No, I'm using strictly, I figure I already know what my costs are in relationship to the session fee. Okay? I'm doing
That's not the total cost of the sitting when you're doing.
Okay, but see, I'm already saying, I know what that cost of, you're not charging a session fee, I am.
I am too.
Okay, I figure that I have my session fee already worked out, that I'm not counting that as part of their total order. See? I want to know what my retail order was in direct relationship to what my lab cost was to produce that order.
You put that down on the,
Put it right on the lab bag, I round it off and don't include cents. Just,
you don't even put,
no, if the order was $400, strictly prints,
yeah.
strictly prints. So that I get a good relationship of what the lab did for me. I can look at it right now and see what my markup was and where I gotta go up or down. Hopefully never down, always up.
Yeah, I understand it's good. But you don't do the promotional free,
Some, yeah, I do some, but not a lot.
how do you mark business cost?
I strictly put down what I got for the order, and I put down what it cost me from the lab. And I have varying degrees. If I did a promotional freebie, I know my markup is gonna be lower, okay? But if it drops below a certain point, like we talked about in Palm Springs, I put my targets up there, what I'm looking for. I'll accept 3.5 times. I aim for 7 times, but I'm happy with 5 times. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a response do you get on your surveys, percentage-wise, that you get back?
We include a business reply envelope. I have a business reply permit, and I found that that really increased them, and that, I get probably 25%. But that business reply envelope helps. And it's much cheaper than sticking a stamp on, because the people that don't really, send them, you've wasted the stamp. So the business reply thing is pretty simple to do. Anybody else? Well, I must have done just a heck of a job here today. There's some thanks to some people. I'm not going to read them. You can read them real quick. Yeah, I moved too fast. I'd like to leave you with this ending thought. Money doesn't bring happiness, but it's been known to bring an occasional smile or two. And I hope I've given you some of that. Thank you very much.
Steve, I've got something for you. You'll meet me in the front room here.
Oh, okay. A new Cadillac.
You got this keychain.
Jeez, we want it.
That was the same old photography. We would call expenses to get this for you. We would like to present you, I'm going to step on this side so I can get a good picture. I'd like to present you on behalf of the professional photographers of Greater Omaha to Maris for certificates for you.
Thank you very
Hope
much.
you use them toward your master's degree.
Well, thank you.
I understand you're pretty close.
I'm working, there you go.
There we go. All right. We hope you enjoy your stay, Steve.
Thank you.
We're not doing it. We're all going to Quackers tonight to throw darts. It's kind of a hustler, we understand.
I do have the packets for anybody that wants them. If you'd like to look at them before you spend your money, you're welcome to do so, okay?
They're well worth it if you haven't seen them. Thanks again, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we want to finish up with PPGO meeting here if we could, and I want to get some information here. We're going to try to keep this kind of short. I don't have a table up here, so I know how Steve feels now. I'm just going to kind of work from the floor. First of all, I want to kind of bring up some old business. Thanks, Steve. Last time we kind of got together, we were talking about the bylaws, and we had voted to change the section of the bylaws. And instead of making a whole copy of the bylaws, I'm going to hand out some of what we changed on the life membership. You got it? Okay. Nobody wants them. And in June 19th, when we have the changing of the board, we will be presenting the life members. We'll be presenting the life members with their plaques, and it's kind of a
Oh, unless you let me vote me as a life member now.
Why do they always go to change these rules every time we get on board?
You'll see on there that we changed it, life membership, when you read on in here. Because before the life member had to be completely retired and out of the business. And we changed this to what the Nebraska bylaws now read. And goes on to say that life member may be held by any individual, group, firm, corporation, or other entity. And the proposed life member has provided outstanding service to or for the corporation over an extended period of time and years in the form of financial support, or in the form of service to the corporation, or in the capacity of an officer or an employee of the corporation. The proposed has retired from active photography business as an owner, manager, employee, and the proposed has changed careers. And as I said, in June, when we have the changing of the board, we have 3 life members that will be presented the Life Member Award. Is there, Joe?
Can I just point out here that in the board's discussion of this change, an important thing to note is the bottom part of paragraph A where it says the following are taken into consideration. Before, much of the problem was caused by whether or not a certain photographer is actually retired from photography or doing it on a part-time basis or what. With that following or taking this into consideration, it's not required that he be completely retired. We can consider it if the person has made considerable contributions but is still working, then it's still okay. If in the opinion of the board, he has done enough to merit life membership.
Correct. There's some people that have been in it for such a long time that, aren't completely retired. So, and this is something that the board is giving considerations to in some members. So, we'll just say that pretty much for the spectacle of our June meeting. Any old business somebody wants to bring up? Okay, new business. We are accepting nominations for board members. Anybody have some nominations they'd like to bring up?
Could you give the slate who is up right now? Apart from moment. Have you received any nominations?
As of now, we have not received any nominations, so we're open. Actually, this is the open and closing of the nominations, so we need to get some input. It was put in the newsletter that it's been open, and we're closing it, and we'll be sending out the ballots to all the active members to vote. Right now, you'll be voting Monty Evans, and Michael Dwyer, Joe Johnson, who are the current board members. Anybody want to nominate anybody?
How does the bylaws work? I guess I'm a bit you guys, the people that are already on the board, do they just automatically move up or?
The people that are on the board are not elected into a new position, they're not voted on that, but what, it's kind of a general agreement that anybody that is on the board right now, unless they decide they do not want to run, are automatically eligible to run for the PPGO board. And then the new member that you'll be voting on most likely will go into the treasury position. What the president or the next president should do is it'll just kind of automatically, everybody will move up unless for some reason somebody wants to stay in the treasury and everybody agrees they should, or whatever the situation may call for. So it most likely everybody will move up a chair and the new person will take the treasury position. That's usually the way it's done. Joe?
Tom Stewart.
Okay. Showing the records, we have Tom Serva.
I would
Claire?
second that.
Okay.
Another nomination.
Okay.
Steve Reed.
Steve, do you accept the nomination? That's, okay.
And I'll second it if it needs one.
Okay. Money.
I nominate Steve Miller.
I'll second the motion.
You don't need any motions to elect anybody, you just, Steve, do you accept?
I accept.
All right. Any other nominations?
Point of maybe clarification, you don't have to be nominated by somebody else. If you have a desire to put in the effort, please feel free to
That's
nominate
true too.
yourself.
Yeah, don't feel like you've got an ego if you want to nominate yourself, that's all right too. I nominate Steve Bohne.
Can we vote today?
He could be our treasurer. Okay, we'll close the nominations then, and we'll be sending out the ballots to everybody with the deadline and let you know the results at the June meeting. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we've got some PPGO lapel pins here, and you can buy them. They're 2 for $15. I wore one at a wedding yesterday, and I had more comments from people wanting to know what PPGO was about, and I explained it, and I think maybe, I don't know, I educated at least 10 people at a wedding reception, and gave me something to do in between the cutting of the cake and throwing a bouquet of garters. So they're a conversation piece anyways. If anybody wants them, come up and see me. Any other business? Michael? You have something?
How many people have seen any of the publicity on the PPGO sponsored seminars? How many people are going to be attending May 10th, Dwayne Sorrell? Not that many at this point. I know the person quite well, have seen his presentation. You've seen a heck of a business program today, but I can guarantee you that if you see Dwayne Sorrell, you'll be seeing one of the finest photographic artisans that you'll ever see. And you may want to keep it in mind, I've got a couple extra reservation forms. I think we're probably too late to be pre-registered. At the door, as a PPGO member, it's $48 and then a $20 excess at the door. As a non-PPGO member, it's $58 plus your 20. But it's at the Holiday Inn Central from 6 to 10, May 10th. And again, I can't say enough about the artistry of this particular person, his philosophies, symbolism, psychology. You'll be highly impressed, and you'll walk away with your tail tucked between your legs of how
What day is the May 10th?
it's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, isn't it?
I think it's a Tuesday.
May 10th, Wednesday.
The registration will be at 5, and the program is from 6 to 10. And like I say, I've got a couple of extra brochures that just will show some of his work and so forth if anybody's interested. But I do highly suggest that you attend, not for anybody's welfare, but your
What's the cost, Mike?
It was as a PPFA member, 48 with a $20 at the door charge now because it's past the deadline. 58 as a non-PPFA member plus your 20. But it's, he's nothing shy of exceptional. And anybody that's seen him would attest to that.
Looks like you got some other goodies there.
Well, the other thing I wanted to indicate is not to take PPGO's time to show that professional photographers of Nebraska, for those members that maybe did not see this at a Heart of America convention, or those that maybe did not attend, but we do have a custom bronze cast emblem of the PPFN logo on a professional photographer or the state of Nebraska format walnut plaque that is available through PPFN at $35. Anybody interested in that, you now have an opportunity to have a very professional display of your active membership in Nebraska. And then when Steve mentioned about the sesquicentennial of Michigan, there is also then this year, 1989 is the sesquicentennial of photography, that 1839 was the beginning of the journey of the science of photography. There have been a couple of different commemorative things struck, but I'm on the Board of Governors of the American Society of Photographers, and for those that might be interested, we did strike, and just I am the chairman for that particular coin commemorative committee. We struck 150 silver medallions that I received these on Thursday of last week. They are numbered. 124 of them are already spoken for with particular numbers, but they're $50 per medallion, if anybody would be interested to take a look at the design and so forth. In addition, there is an antique bronze coin or medallion available at $5 per issue, and there are 1,500 that we struck, and they are not numbered. But the 150, when they're gone, they're gone. It is a national program. It's not restricted to just ASP members, though. It is, as the American Society of Photographers, we did do this particular project, and availability then of the antique bronze is also too.
Of course, the PPGO pins are much more valuable.
Limited edition.
Limited edition, that makes
Yes.
funny.
But it's just, you know, for your information, if anybody's interested in that kind of a thing, not everybody is.
Not a number on there? Well, you put it on there. Okay,
Where's Terry?
what do you got there?
I've got something here. It's from Central Nebraska. It's putting on a seminar July 5th, I think. Yeah, June 5th. I'm sorry, I said July. June 5th on soft glamour, and is it Boursier? Is how you say it? Boursier. Okay. And if you haven't gotten one of these flyers from Supercolor or from the state organization, we have some here for you also. We can talk. Terry.
I'd like to just maybe promote a couple of the people here from PPGO that made top 10. Joe Johnston. Yeah. And did I miss somebody? Who did I miss?
Mark Weber.
Mark Weber.
And I didn't make top 10.
He had a, what's it?
Grant Gallery Award.
Yeah.
Well, you know. Okay, well, that concludes the meeting, and we thank you again, Steve.
I do have, I'm sorry, if you want to turn in your speaker review forms to me, I do have something I'm going to give you absolutely free. Those people that are interested in talking about senior ambassadors, I have the book here that you can look at, and we can talk about that at length, but if some people are doing it already, I didn't want to kind of bore them. They probably know the details, okay? So anything you'd like to talk to me, I don't leave Nebraska till tomorrow morning. Okay?
One other thing, too, is that this meeting today replaces our normal second Monday of the month meeting. So don't anticipate a May meeting. Joe?
Just a quick reminder on the door displays coming up.
Oh, yeah.
In June, we've got the Crossroads Mall, June 19th through the 26th. Our meeting for June will be June 19th. So we're seeing each other in the morning to set up the Crossroads, then the meeting in the evening. The takedown on the Crossroads is June 26th. The setup for the West Roads is June 26th. We'll get the details and the times and all that kind of thing. But I do want to emphasize that the malls are getting really tight about who gets in. It's not easy anymore. It's not automatic anymore. It's one of our greatest opportunities to let the city, to show the city what we do. So start thinking now about what you're gonna be hanging. At the same time as we, at the Westroads Mall, they'll be displaying the photographers from Southwest Iowa. It's a newly formed group, many of whom aren't PPGO associated. It's sort of a grassroots organization right now. Somehow they got permission to display at the Westroads at the same time, but on a different level. So we want to make every effort to make sure that we look fantastic. So start planning it now. And again, I'll get the dates or the specifics about our setup times and teardown times and so forth out as soon as we get them done.
Steve? Miller.
Was there a clarification needed on, was it Crossroads about cards or no cards, or a list of photographers displaying Joe? I got that impression someplace.
The last time we'd spoken with them, they gave us the indication that we wouldn't be allowed to have individual pockets on our displays that have our individual business cards. But we will be having a sign that'll list the members of the PPGO in their Studio City. It hasn't been actually written in concrete that we can't do that. It wasn't part of the contract, but if that's what they decide, then that's how we'll have to follow.
Didn't they, Mike, when we talked to him, didn't they say the individual nameplates were gonna be okay?
The plates would be okay, but no card holders.
No card holders?
We'll, when we put out the newsletter, we'll make a notation or a reminder of that.
Steve, how many members do we have that are displaying on the doors?
Currently, I think we've got around 20, what is it, 26.
26 members that display.
Not that many show every time, but maybe for the Crossroads, if we could get those kind of numbers at the Crossroads and the Westroads, that would be an excellent display. Yeah. We could really show ourselves well, especially if we've got another group, and I don't want to say competing with us, but if there's another organization that is displaying, let's get in there and let's show them what we've gone through in the past years to make our display look top quality. We haven't set a location for the June meeting, and that'll be announced in the newsletter.
Some places serve margaritas.
Okay, thanks for all coming.
There's a nice bar here. We'll have more